Boom. Good evening, everybody. Afternoon, morning, wherever you're listening. This is the live news. You have got three of us. You've got me, obviously. And you've got a couple of Americans. No Random Dave with us today. He is unable to make it. But we'll see if the three of us can handle it in his absence. I'm sure we're up to it. We'll find out, I guess. So we will kick off with what we've been up to this month. And to be honest, not a huge amount of, TV, movie, gameplay, that kind of stuff. Spent a couple of weeks in the caravan. We had a couple of weeks holiday, and we had something of a heat wave this last month. I mean, a couple of days it got up to like 40 degrees in certain places, which is pretty much unheard of over here, but we've had some high 30s as well for the last a few days out of the last couple of weeks while I was away. So we've been swimming in the sea. Went to North Wales, which is the part we were in, about a couple of hours from me. Nice countryside, and 10 minutes from it's kind of on a little spit of land, so you've got the coast on both sides. So if the weather's crap on one side, you go to the other side and it's generally a bit better. So we chased the sun and swam in the sea pretty much every day for a couple of weeks. And little Ben joined us for the second week. I don't know if I mentioned before, but little Ben bought my old caravan when I got a new one. So he and Maria came out for the last week and had a great old time. So not too much, really.
Well, and for them, that's like a reasonably sized mansion.
They are both little people.
It's like a Ben's mobile hobbit hole.
So I can't remember if I mentioned it last month, but I rewatched the Anvil documentary. We were talking about rock and roll bands, weren't we, I think? So I rewatched the Anvil documentary. It's pretty good. Worth a watch. Anvil, the story of Anvil. And I watched, a couple of nights ago, I watched The Black Phone with Millie, which is like a bit of a horror / thriller. It's okay. It's worth a watch. Not great, but yeah, okay. TV shows I started, Better Call Saul. It's because they released it like week on week. I don't tend to do, watch a show, wait a week, watch a show. I wait till they're finished and try and avoid spoilers, which I successfully have. So I think I'm on.
So you get one piece of advice on that show.
Yeah.
When I watched Breaking Bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
A good friend of mine, I tend, like, if you tell me, or Mark tells me, or random tells me, or somebody tells me, hey man, you really should see this show. I put it in a list, and it sometimes takes a while to get around to it. But somebody that, I trust their opinion had said, you got to watch Breaking Bad, right? And I got like 3/4 of the way through the first season. I bailed. I just didn't see it, right? And so I turned back around and I watched something else. And, this friend of mine asked me about it. I said, yeah, I watched about 3/4 of the first season. I kind of bailed because, no, you've got to get into the second season and it pays off. Trust me. I said, all right. So I did. Freaking great, man. It was worth every minute, right?
Yeah.
So what I will tell you about Better Call Saul, and because it just ended like a week ago.
Yeah, I should say, by the way, just before you do, I'm talking about the last season. I am up to date up to the last season.
Oh, okay. So, good. You'll find that, man, did they get clever? It gets a little mushy and slow, and like I kind of had the dragon thing going, like, are they gonna fuck this up and just go, oh, cancel our paychecks, watch what you do your show, and which is kind of what happened to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And no, they didn't. They did a beautiful job. The ending, it's not a spoiler to say it has plot twist because it's fucking Better Call Saul. It's like it's got lawyers. Give it away. Yeah, it's great.
Really, don't ruin it because I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I'm lawyers and meth, but no, they really did a good job with a whole lot of plot twists. I mean, there aren't many shows that catch you by surprise at the end these days. Usually, it's so predictable. But yeah, they did a beautiful job. Wonderful storytelling, master level writing. I really can't wait to see what they do next as well, as a group or individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm in the 3rd episode now, so not too far into it, but yeah, it's getting good. Gus has been in it for a while, obviously. He was also in Breaking Bad. What else did I watch? Let's go back to that page. That, I think, is pretty much it movie-wise. I know there's a new Star Wars show out. Is it the Obi-Wan Kenobi? I've not touched that yet. And the...
well, good. You
yeah,
get
the
monkeypox.
Game of Thrones spin-off started. I don't
Watched
know.
it last night.
Yeah.
There's some speed wobbles in there. I mean, the dragons were cool. They got somehow, I don't know how they did it. They got the most whimsical of Doctor Who's to kind of be a badass in this thing. They basically replaced. All right, so when they came out with Game of Thrones, right? Some people I know, again, same thing, right? People I trust their opinion will go, oh, you gotta watch this, right? I'm like, doesn't look like my thing. You really gotta watch it. Nah, probably not, right? And then they're like, dude, it's got a midget standing on a bucket fucking a hooker. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. And
why wasn't that your opening line?
yeah, you had me a bucket.
Show title, you had me at bucket.
But no,
Jesus,
dude, I tell you, man, it was good. The whole cast, I thought, just kind of killed it up until that last episode, right? Then a lot of it's like they were all angry at being there, like they didn't want to finish it.
Well,
Here's
the thing.
yeah, I'm almost there. The plot started, basically, Martin was cut out. It was diving off a cliff, right? And then the piety started. The chick that literally made her career by taking her clothes off is like, I don't feel comfortable. I take my clothes off. Like, you fucking made millions. They came at you and said, this is how much money we'll pay you to shake that ass coming out of the hot tub. And she goes, okay. And then she's like, I was victimized. But, and the only guy I think the ones that really maintained kind of their dignity through it was, I thought, Dinklage was pretty respectable, and a couple of the guys that were what's his name, Kit Harington, whatever. I thought that they kind of maintained their dignity throughout it, but it went down a tube, man. And like the ending was just a giant. Oh, okay, it's gonna end this way. Here's what we do to you, and they just crashed the whole series. But this one opens up. And it's got some speed wobbles. It's got some cool bits, but it's got some speed wobbles. I don't know where it's going, if it's going to be watchable 3 episodes in, but I'll give it a look.
Yeah, I have a couple of things to get to before that, but did you want to say something about it, Sparkle?
Yeah, I'll just run through quickly. So I watched The House of the Dragon, the premiere last week. I'm looking forward to it. Continue that. I read all the books, so I read all of the.
Well, that won't help you here.
Song of Fire and Ice, which I think part of the problem with it is, look, Scott, the author hasn't finished that series yet, so it's kind of hard to say how George R.R. Martin would finish those novels. Now they got some kind of advice, or he weighed in on it some, but that's likely not how the book will end. And I mean, as far as trying to take those books into a long format show, I think they did a really good job.
They did, but it just you've seen the meme, right, of the horse, and the start, like the head of the horse is like an oil painting, then the second bit is like slightly less artistic painting, and like the tail of the horse is just like pencil drawing, like a kid's done it. Like that, it got steadily worse each season. Like the last 2 or 3 seasons, the last one in particular, they blazed through. There's like all this stuff's going to happen, and then they didn't show any of it. It's like the next scene is, well, this all happened, and we're here now, so what's going to happen? But like in previous seasons, that would have been an episode at least. It was just crazy how quick they blazed through it.
Well, and sometimes you have to ask yourself a question. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. So if you were to sit down with a group of rational people and say, okay, the author's not finished writing the books yet, should we make the series? Well, no, we don't have the material. All right, good call.
Well, you know what though? He did tell them that he would have everything done. He still has 2 books to finish.
Oh, he's flaky as fuck. I have no doubt he
yeah,
did. And
I mean, I
but
met
that's
the
where you got
guy.
to go. All right, boys, hold off.
Yeah, I mean, he's been working for God, I think a decade now on the current one that he's on, Winds of Winter. So it's like, when will it come out? Who knows? I mean, and the guy's like pretty, he's up there in age, not super healthy. So you're like, bro, I hope you finish this shit. But anyway, I did read Fire and Ice, which is the novel that House of the Dragon is based off of. So it does a lot of time jumping. It focuses primarily on the Targaryen family and sort of their like, half cousins and stuff like that. So it should be interesting. I think the middle part of the book is some of the most interesting. I think it will lend itself well for a complete series because it has a very definitive, beginning and end because it's one novel. It's a big ass book, but they won't have to make up a bunch of shit or like kind of guess at what the ending will be. I don't know that it'll be quite a bit different than Game of Thrones because Song of Fire and Ice that Game of Thrones was based off of was each chapter was from the perspective of a different character, where Fire and Blood's a little bit different, and you don't really have it's a smaller focus as far as who the cast of characters. It's just really the Targaryen family for the most part, but should be interesting.
I'm holding out for a Song of Smoke and Mirrors.
There you go. But other than that, I took a vacation, was down in Charleston, South Carolina, which is just a beautiful city. If any of you listening haven't ever checked it out, highly recommend. It's a bit of a time warp. It's, still sort of that southern debutante kind of traditional town with Spanish moss hanging, some of the old architecture. You could visit Fort Sumter and everything else. And it's a really cool city. There's a lot going on, a lot of good food and eats, beautiful beaches, nice place. Was down there. Picked up, as far as my liquor pickups, I was able to pick up the Leopold Pot Still special release. I think there's only about 3,000 bottles put out this year. So that's more of a unique rye that is kind of, no one else is really kind of distilling rye the way that they're doing it. So that's added to the collection. As far as video games, I've been playing a lot of Life Force, and I was playing some Xenophobe as the run-up to the top 10 that you guys would have heard by now. Playing Stray, which is the cat game on the PS5, which is kind of like a puzzle platformer. That's been pretty fun. I'm in a bit of a spot where I'm not sure what to do, and I really don't like looking up tips and tricks and stuff like that or walkthroughs, but I might have to. Seemingly this should be a pretty solvable puzzle game, but I can't find something, and I can't move on. I have to like give a grandma's sweater to somebody, and I don't know who the hell it is or something. And something else that I just am absolutely hooked on. I don't know if you all have played it yet. I guess maybe I'm late to the party, but this is a Steam game, and it's called Vampire Survivors. Have any of you guys tried that yet?
Not heard of it.
No.
Holy shit! This is like an indie game. It's kind of like an 8-bit, a pseudo 8-bit maybe game, and it's kind of a roguelike. There's a couple different levels. You have like kind of like a Conan the Barbarian guy, a wizard. There's like different weapons that you could pick up, and they auto fire, and you can only move the character around. You don't actually hit a button or anything like that, and you kill like insane hordes of enemies, and basically you just have to last for 30 minutes to beat the round. And then at the end of the 30 minutes,
Gauntlet.
Kind of, yeah. But man, I think it's like $3 or something on Steam. Me and my youngest daughter got absolutely hooked on this game. I mean, we've probably dumped like 80 hours into this thing in the last month. And you can unlock more and more characters and like unlock different weapons. And as you get different weapons and like buffs and stuff, you can combine them. So like if you get like the holy water and you get the ancient tomb, then they combine and it does like this rippling water damage. And like a lot of the weapons are kind of based off of like Castlevania. Like they're channeling a lot of Castlevania type stuff in it. It's man, it's honestly like I think if you play it, you're either gonna get hooked or you'll be like it's not for me. And if you get hooked, it's probably the best $3 you'll ever spend. So Vampire Survivors, little indie game on Steam, like can't recommend it enough. It's just been so fun, and I'm having a hard time remembering what the game was. I'll have to look it up. King's Bounty kind of has graphic aesthetics of King's Bounty from EA, the old like computer slash like Mega Drive game. Very similar to that, but man, it is just so fun and it is challenging, but not in a snap your controller way. And once you start getting more buffs and stuff like that, leveling up, it's super addictive. So check it out. Highly recommend. If anybody else played it, write in, tell me about it. I'm just absolutely love it.
Well, gaming wise, arcade wise, and all. I had a bit of a repair to do. It kind of snuck up on me. My Terminator Salvation, which I tend to think of as a very new game, even though, well, I just thought about it. It's 12, 13 years old. And, it's thoroughly modern. It's got like HDMI out on the PC, which is just a Dell, office grade PC with a, for the time, pretty kick-ass graphics card. So we're talking about, 2-core Athlon with, I think I can't remember how much RAM's in there. It's not a tremendous amount. And then, a pretty good video card for 2010, right? So it just runs, and I think it was pretty new. Well, a 13-year-old PC can have issues, right? So the other day the week I go to boot it up and nothing, right? So it turns out the power supply in the thing took a dump. The Dell power supplies, it uses a standard connector, but the form factor is a little off. So, I ended up, I had a spare PC power supply laying around, so I tested it out. Of course, it was good. And I got a new Dell one for like pennies and scored another identical PC. So I had a spare motherboard, spare CPU, spare RAM, spare graphics card, everything. And that was like literally $100 to the door. Not a bad deal. So got Terminator back up and running, but it was kind of funny though, because it's not that not that old. I have been snagging a lot of cool stuff. The worse the recession and the economy gets, the more people are selling off their collectibles on eBay, right? And I've just been buying some stuff. So I snagged a couple of things. One, a lot of it's like vintage model stuff. There is stuff that I have not seen. This kind of stuff you see once a decade on eBay, right? I got some cool video game stuff, a couple consoles, and the prices are way depressed from the heights that they were at. So they're pretty much like the pricing was rewound about 8 to 10 years. One of the coolest ones I picked up that I had to make a hard decision on, I said, well, the heck with it, is I got back in the day, there's a model company called Monogram, and they do mainly the static display plastic models, and they made really good kits. They were a major player, and you would go into like Walmart or Target back in the 70s and 80s, and they had a model aisle, and it was all like the kits, and then a lot of gas like control line stuff and some RC stuff, but models were much more prevalent. Well, in '86, Monogram got into the RC car business, which was just white hot at the time. To me, it was selling the Grasshoppers. Associated came in with the RC10, and the car market was going nuts. So Monogram comes in with instead of a kit ready to run, it sort of bridges the gap between hobby grade and full on, toy grade. So I would say it's closer to a hobby than toy grade, but it did have like its own proprietary RC system. But everything else was pretty much standard. Basically, it's a Tamiya model that they licensed. So I picked up two of these things in the box. I'm gonna try and turn this around here. Terrible camera angle. But it was actually a all-wheel drive kit, and I have not seen one of these on eBay since like the 90s. Like 98 was the last time I saw one of these, and they had two, right? Well, I think actually it was three. I didn't get the third. So I got two that were, shrink wrap sealed in the box, right? One of them went into the collection, and I sat there with the other one. I was like, am I going to open this thing? And what's the point, if you bought it to have that experience and you don't? So, I cut the plastic and, took the lid off and took pictures and all. The everything was like it was packed the day it was packed. There's no weathering of the decals. Just beautiful, right? I put a battery in it. It immediately just ran. No problems whatsoever. Beautiful kit. So then I, kind of put it up on the shelf with, some of the other ones that never get run. It ran probably a total of 100 foot across an indoor floor, but it's so cool to have picked those up. Just a bunch of other, I got like an Arcadia system. I got another Fairchild. Just there's a lot of stuff on eBay now for very good prices, which hadn't happened in a very long time. So, about the only positive side effect of where things are headed financially. But when your 401k is down 30%, fuck it, just at least the RC cars are $300 again. But I also there's a company, another not video game stuff, model stuff, but there's a company out there called Flight Test. I think I've talked about them before, and they do a masterful thing. We always refer to the World War II generation as the greatest generation, and generally, they did tremendous things. I'm sure they had some dummies too, but we refer to this generation as the dumbest generation because what they don't know is extraordinary. I mean, they have no connection to anything before they were born. To them, the world didn't exist until they came along. There's some exceptions, and I have to say I know a few that are very achievement-oriented people, but for the most part, kind of a disappointment. So you show them like say a balsa wood kit that has a 100 or so parts and takes hours to build, and it's like showing a vampire across. They just turn around and hiss and run. But if you take the same thing and you say, okay, but you 3D print the nose cone and the wing mounts, and then everything's laser cut out of foam and you hot glue it together, right? So it's not just like foam, like beer cooler foam. It's like a composite foam. And they're like, oh, that's, it instantly becomes maker culture then. So they're happy to do it. So Flight Test has tricked the dumbest generation into wanting to build radio control airplanes by doing, these kits that somehow they're just model airplanes. And it's the exact same design. It was done in balsa wood for years. They just did slightly different materials, threw in a couple 3D printed. Oh, you can 3D print your own missiles to hang under the F-18. And all of a sudden, the next generation just can't get enough of it because they've been tricked, basically. It's just change the angle 10 degrees and they fall for it. So one of the neat things is their kits. I didn't really like a lot of them at first because they kind of look like, Sega Saturn polygons. They're very facety looking. And there's a lot of them I just didn't care for. But they start coming out with this new Master Series, and they're doing some neat stuff with it. So I picked up a couple of their kits, and, this stuff is so cheap now. When we started flying the electric motors with the lithium polymer batteries, we're talking about, $300 for a motor, $200 for batteries. It would easily cost you $500-$600, right? I ordered, for this, I built this one Antonov biplane, right? The motor, the controller that runs the motor, the servo, everything was like $47. I mean, it's insane. And then the kit was like $70. So well under $200, and you're flying this really cool biplane kit. And because they're made out of this foam core and all, you're not really scared at all and just modifying or going crazy with the paint jobs or whatnot. And so I started doing a lot of like kind of hamming up the fact that they look like a polygon out of a early mid-90s video game. So there's one I'm working on now. It's an F4 Phantom. It's pretty big. And it's I would say it's about at least 5.5, almost 6 foot, like from nose to tail, and about a 4.5 inch wing, 4.5 foot wingspan. But it weighs almost nothing. It's very lightweight. So I've got a turbine that's just under the size of a can of Coke, and it makes about 5 pounds of thrust. So the whole model weighs maybe 4.5 pounds. So I'm building this Phantom, and I'm sticking this turbine in the Phantom. So basically, normally, like, you got to fly jets, man. It's a production. You got to, haul a lot of stuff out to the field. And, when you take off, like with my T-45, right? You come off the ground, you flip the gear up, pull the flaps up, and it's a streak. Even on low throttle, they're fast. And, you basically do a high-speed run down the runway, a big arc up in the air. And it's a chore. I mean, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but a little bit of a chore. So what if you could just fly in a tighter, smaller space and have less of a production, right? So the whole idea with this F4 with the turbine is that you're going to be able to, do a very slow rolling takeoff. The wing loading will be next to nothing. Basically, big plane doesn't weigh anything, right? And, do real short distance takeoffs, vertical climbs, big aerobatics, but yet stay in a very small confined area, not going that fast. So you get all the noise and the roar of a turbine, but, you can fly in a soccer field. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, I like what they're doing. I really like the way they're approaching things. So anyway, flight test is, they've been around now about 12 years. They're very well known, practically reinvented the hobby in some ways. I'll give them credit for that. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been fiddling with, and about to roll out of here in a day or two, go out to Vegas again, and maybe, do a little discussions, a little location scouting amongst other things, and see what the possibility and feasibility is of looking at maybe standing up another expo. I'm not saying there's going to be one. I'm not saying that we were going to sign a contract. I'm going to be sitting down with some people. While
but you're not saying we're not.
No, I'm not saying we're not. But obviously, I'm not trying to like bomb you guys here on short notice, because it's something we've talked about, before. But
I thought we were signed already. What the heck?
if it looks favorable, then all of us are going to have a discussion and see if we want to do this thing. If we can't, a lot of things to it. But how to make it make sense. Anyway, I just no secrets. I'm gonna talk to some people out there and see what the market and the vibe is out there. So anyway, that's what I've been fiddling with.
Awesome. So I did drop into a couple of games, just some quick handheld stuff while I was away. So played a bit of Kid Dracula on the Game Boy, and there are 2 Tomb Raider games on the Game Boy Color, which are like side-on platformers pretty much, but playing through those. I finished the first one. I finished it years ago, I think. So I played through that again, and I'm partway through the second one. And that, gaming-wise, is about it, other than little Ben brought his Steam Deck along. So I got to have a play around with that. I'd seen them before, obviously, on videos, things like that. Loads of people have them now doing reviews, but I'd never held one before. It's a big old piece of kit. I did like it. Great screen on it. Lots of buttons everywhere. Interesting the way kind of the little square control things, you can use them as a D-pad or like a touchpad kind of thing. Took it a little getting used to. So I played a couple of games on there. I forget what it was now. Euro Truck Simulator or something like that. I was on holiday in Wales, driving a truck around Manchester. And
wow.
Yeah, and,
fucker.
he's got some emulation stuff set up on there as well, so I had a quick play around with that. Some of it was a bit hit and miss, the N64 stuff, which can be janky, but on there you can choose different cores for different games. But he'd not gone through all of that, so not as fluid as it could have been. But I mean, it's great. It is a great piece of kit. It's big. It's huge, in fact, I would say. But interesting device. And people are getting them now. They've speeded up production somewhat. I think Random's got his now as well. So look forward to talking to Random next month about his.
Well, you're going to get it before the Amico, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something we should just chat about just a tad, because there's been so many developments. Are you guys tracking on all the documents that have been published and released and all that?
So I haven't downloaded them, I haven't read them, but I've seen some commentary on them. I'm just scrolling through to see. Just want to name check a few people who sent it in, if I can find it. David Gyrick sent a story in about it. I think there were some others. I'm just scrolling through quickly. Can't see, but no, feel free to go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'll just give the 10,000 foot view. Between documents that I had been sent, and I'll leave it at that, and then documents that were surfaced. Some of them, as I understand, were posted on Reddit. And these are like the internal documents that they were using, like for their talking points, for their presentations, for, I don't know, various other uses. They were clearly not meant to be seen by people outside the company, right? Mm-hmm. And so Pat and Ian, who I respect, they like us, like many people, they get an idea, they get a little, hot-headed, and they run with it. And their only flaw that I will say they have in their thinking, I'm not saying they're wrong on their assumptions, no, far from it, but the only thing that they're really, I think, their weak point, if you will, because everything else they do is right, everything else they're saying is correct. So I'm just saying this from a point of view of the only thing I can really hold up to critique is the thing that we experienced, right? You remember with the Chameleon, right? We had the texts, we had the emails, we had the documents. It's one thing to have the text from SoCal Mike where he said X, right? I got it right there. I can scroll my phone and there's the damn text. And then you go on YouTube and you watch, Butt Monkey 12, who's like, the haters and not knowers don't understand that this is this. I'm like, dumb motherfucker. I slept in the guy's fucking house. I fucking been to dinner with his family, and here's the fucking text that says he did it, right? And it just drives you up the wall, right? So we have been in the position of being on the other side of the ropes. We've known the real story. And in many cases, we're like, hey, look, here's the real deal. And people are like, oh, that's not as cool as our story. And they just ignore it, So I understand, having been, as you are, as Mark to a very deep degree with the magazine and later Shenanigans, and us to a very deep degree. I mean, we're talking like, finite knowledge of this thing. And knowing everything we knew and then watching others speculate, some of them you just get mad because it's idiocy. Others, you can respect how they arrived at that opinion, even if they're wrong, because damn, everything else was crooked and had the appearance of it, right? So, in this case, their sort of assumption, the only thing I'd say they have wrong is I don't think they give full faith and credit that there was sincerely the intent to build a console. Because every document that's kind of leaking out and what they're seeing, it supports the notion that what they were doing is trying to create the perception of a huge market, trying to say that, there's this massive following for Tommy and anything he touches, and this massive following for Intellivision, and that because Nintendo sold 12 million units, they're going to sell 10. And that they were trying to hype and pitch and pump up this notion so that somebody would come along and buy it out midstream, and that they didn't really care about taking on enormous oceans of money that they couldn't pay back because they were just getting this giant payday, right? Now, the only misconception I can say in all that is I think I would even say this to SoCal. They did set out to build a console. It was never that they were setting up to build a marketing gimmick solely. They were legitimately looking to build and sell a console and succeed in that, right? But the problem came when they were willing to cut every corner, backstab, lie, take money they knew they couldn't pay back, and then, attack those people. And as it turns out, the documents are right there. It looks like that crew, in our opinion, may have done the exact same thing. That they absolutely probably, I see nothing that says they didn't intend to build a console. They weren't just trying to create money. But much like, SoCal is trying to bluff his way past the gatekeepers and get the money on false premises that he had a ready-to-go product, it looks very comparable here. Only I think the Amico effort was much further along in the process of making the machine, right? But the fact that they took so many different sources of funding, they were in the middle of trying to get another round of funding when everything fell apart. That's the downfall, So I think that, I can't see maybe for another decade, another brand, because so many brands have been damaged. I mean, the television brand is now damaged deeply. The Coleco brand is now damaged deeply. And those were some of the main competitors to the Atari, 2600, 5200, 7800. So that era of gaming, what are you going to do? You're going to have the Fairchild Channel F, Pocket Edition. You're going to build. I'm looking to the left over here up on the wall. You're going to have the Fairchild Channel F Fun Edition. Are you going to trade on the good name and faith of the GE Arcadia? Maybe you're gonna, they already tried the Jag too. I mean, what is the console that you're going to replicate and roll out there to try and, Pong? What are you gonna do, right? So I think they've wrecked us ever seeing a resurgence of legacy brands like that, and or even things branded with a legacy brand. So, yeah, I think that between Kennedy and Tallarico, they pretty much crushed the ability of anybody to bring something like that to market. And that, to me, is the lasting damage. They tried to enrich themselves, which if they could make a product and make a profit, I want Tommy to legitimately have another Ferrari. I wanted SoCal to not only have a successful magazine, but no, he had to steal it. And I wanted him to have a successful console that I wanted to be a part of. And I didn't want these things to not happen. But no, he had to go and do that, fucking SNES and DVR. I mean, look, he got caught. This is not up for coulda, shoulda, woulda. Maybe. He got caught with a SNES and a Jag at the toy fair. He got caught with a DVR in a Jag shell. These things actually happened. It's not hyperbole. It's not guesswork. So that is what he did. And now the documents have surfaced within television, and this is what they were doing, okay? So, yeah, you two fuck knuckles absolutely ruined the fucking hobby and ability to roll out a quality product, right? Probably for a decade or more. So congrats, guys. Thanks. What's y'all's take on this?
So, I think you're right. I think it's going to take a hell of a lot for a company to try and do that again. I mean, I don't see a problem with the minis. I think the minis are a different thing in a different market. But to come out with
also a next generation of gaming, the NES and forward was a whole other generation of gaming.
Yeah. But I think you're right. Those kind of boutique consoles, if you like, I think at this point permanently damaged. But my question would be, maybe maybe you don't, maybe somebody does. So Keith, until he sadly passed, ran Intellivision Productions as a company. It was a going concern. He had employees. They brought out products. And so that is the same company that that Tommy took over and now Phil Adam is the CEO of. So is the company just gone? I mean, have they got literally no money, nowhere to operate, and no employees anymore? Is that company just gone? What, and what happens to the Intellivision brand?
Well, things that we know for sure, right, is that the offices were shuttered, and one of the computers is sitting in the guy's closet. Some of the other stuff is unaccounted for. And when a very small company abruptly closes like that and people just walk away and go back to what they were doing, a lot of things just simply get lost, right? I had asked a very specific question to somebody in the know, and I wish I could like call them real quick and get permission to say more, but I'll have to leave it super generic. And later, if they want to discuss it more, they can. I asked, of the original physical assets, right? Like the because they did have shells molded, they did have boards made. There were dev units produced, right? And there were some in the office that were hand assembled, right? What happened to those, right? And the other thing is what happened to the software archive, because there was some stuff done. I mean, they wrote firmware for the controller. There were some games running. I mean, there were physical assets and digital assets. And not only that, I mean, like from Mark's point of view, right? The stuff he works with, all those renders, the artwork, the box art, all that shit that was generated, right? What happened to all that? Who has all that, right? And in all fairness, they didn't know where all that stuff went to. And another person said something that was confirmed by this other person that, yeah, that some of the server, some of the information was retained by, I would use the word responsible parties, right? But yeah, like kind of like what happened to the Coleco name? Well, River West brand still owns it, right? What happened to the Intellivision name and property? Well, we don't know for sure. Presumably, Tommy bought it, and I guess along with some other people. I never read the paperwork. I don't know, man. Is the whole thing null and void? Is it? Does Tommy own it, and he's going to try and sell it for $500,000 when he paid, under $50K for it? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to find out.
Yeah.
They did are they declaring bankruptcy?
Not yet.
Well, see, that's the funny thing, isn't it? It seems to have fallen apart so much. I mean, I guess Phil Adam appointed himself as Poobah, and they have gone silent. I mean, they basically do their radio silent. So that's the interesting question, isn't it? What happened? I mean, what did they file? I mean, I think it might be like, when that, crap bagel coffee thing downtown closes, that their sole assets was, $2,000 in cheap used kitchen equipment. What happened to the company assets? Fuck, they just closed the door and walked away. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen. Usually, the assets will get sold off.
But that's the question I had. Yeah, what happened to the assets? Where are they? How many consoles were made, and where are they?
Yeah, some of the those things can slip through the cracks. I think that.
Well, those are the assets. There ain't fuck all else but mounds of words.
Smoke and mirrors.
It will likely, if they declared bankruptcy, then there'll be a line of people, right, to get in line. I'm gone through this, unfortunately, myself. And that line of creditors will then get access to whatever is left, and then
if it's done properly, okay, sure. But when SoCal shuttered, whatever, like there was, all right. So at one point he had 3 different companies juggling this thing. So when SoCal shuttered, okay, he personally sold the molds to Atari, to Albert, Atari age, and just shoved some of the money in his pocket, paid some creditors, of which were the ones that he deigned necessary to pay. There was no legal enforcement. Yeah. There was no case. There was no lawyer. He just did what the fuck he wanted.
Yes, and that can happen. I think in this case, the stakes are high, right? With Mike Kennedy, you know, I guess you could argue what the stakes were, but
Less than
there wasn't.
100K. Here we're talking millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the difference, right? Like, who's going to lawyer up and get in line? I mean, basically, anytime you're going to go after assets in court, you're really looking at about $25,000 to go after somebody. So you have to be
Guess what the assets are, though? The assets, the rented rooms are gone. The, Apple laptop and the Dell server, and I don't know that it's a Dell, whatever, and not even a fantastic server. The labor for the digital renders are long since gone. The piles of Tallarico words are valueless. So what do you got? You got maybe, I mean, these are used by this point. You got maybe $4,000 in computers. You got some molds in Asia that who the fuck knows what happens. What are you going to ship the fucking Amico molds to America and sell them for the value of the scrap metal?
Sure. I mean,
there's nothing to take.
They may owe the mold company money, but the IP, like the games, there's some inherent value on those games. They could probably be recycled or repurposed or picked up by somebody like a Pico Interactive to be, put on a card or shipped out onto the iOS store or something like Android store. So some of those things have value. I don't know what the licensing structure of him owning Intellivision is. Like, I'm sure there's some sort of royalties for, some of these T-shirts you see that are sold at stores like Spencer's or something. I mean, I don't know, but there are companies that pay licensing royalties and stuff like that. Whether or not Intellivision has any, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a small brand. We're not talking Atari, right? Like, I see kids with Atari, like limited edition Atari shoes, like shit like that. You never see the Intellivision stuff. It just doesn't have the same panache. So, there's some value.
But the ones I personally bought from Keith.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he was probably making them and selling them. I don't know if anybody out there is clamoring to make licensed, Intellivision stuff, but if there is, like, I mean, like the copyright of the brand and stuff, like there is some intrinsic value there. What it is, I don't know. It would likely go to auction at that point if there's a list of creditors and a court decides, but you'd have to lawyer up and get in line. I think in this case, there's some investors that have some substantial investments. Those guys will all get paid. If you get money on a Kickstarter,
you say they're going to get paid, nothing. Okay? You say they're going to get paid, but there's two really big barriers to that. Okay, one, the sole assets of the company are maybe $3,000, not even that. I'm going to say less than $2,000 in used computing hardware and a pile of bullshit.
And a Gmail account.
Yeah.
I mean,
dude, they use Google. They internally use Google for everything, okay? Their assets is Tommy Tallarico's words and less than $2,000 in used computing hardware. There's nothing.
Okay, but Tommy bought the company for something. I gotta assume from Keith's estate. Like, we don't know what it costs, but whatever. Like the flashback. Hey, if you want to roll out another set of those or something, I'm sure there's some original IP that rides along with the license. Like the company probably owns the intellectual property of some of those games, like Shark or whatever, right?
Sure, of which the market for was just crushed. I'm saying that I cannot see more than, I'll be generous, $50,000 of saleable value, okay? Because if you knew that the Intellivision name was just trashed and you're going to have to sit on it for a decade or more, how much cash you're really going to outlay, right? I personally see less than, and I'm being generous, I think, $50,000 of total value for something that is on the hook for millions. So unless they can personally attach to Tommy and take his personal wealth, don't see it happening.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, so to me, I think that there's something there. I think there's some inherent value. I don't know.
Okay, so what would you this is a good discussion. I'm glad to have, dude. So what would my assessment based on? Okay, what were the physical assets? The molds are gone, dude. You think somebody in China is going to box those up and obey American court order? They're going to melt them down and recycle them into another mold. Okay, they don't give a fuck. So I think the physical assets are probably under $2,000, and then there is the name and some digital assets, of which we don't know how much is preserved. We just don't. So if you were working on that until you found out that the company doesn't exist, or you just suddenly stopped getting phone calls and you had all those assets, do you think you archived and preserved all that for the courts later to protect Tommy's financial? Or do you think you just went delete and went on about your business? All right. So what do you think? What would you estimate the worth, the saleable value of these remaining things is, and why, and what are they? I'm genuinely curious about your perception on this. As I grab a soda.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me, it would probably be worth a $10,000 game. Beyond that, I don't know that I would feel comfortable that I could turn a profit in a reasonable amount of time, but I think I could squeeze 10,000 back out of it, and I would do it this way. I would contact a company like Hot Topic and see if Hot Topic or some other branded licensed T-shirt like Redbubble or somebody like that, where they put out like Rubik's Cube T-shirts and shit like that. They're just going to license your assets, and as they sell it, they're going to give you a perpetuity on whatever they sell, right? So you're going to get, like, you sell the Running Man logo on a T-shirt, you sell 1,000 shirts over the year, they're going to cut you a check back, $1 a shirt or something like that. Like, I think that there's some licensing value here for the name. Not much. It's certainly not Atari. Maybe people making tchotchkes, like keychains, whoever's putting out the flashback and stuff.
But if you look at like that market though, I mean, Atari, yeah, they dicked around with the VCS, what they called the VCS, the new one. It was delayed. It was, a Linux box, but it came out and it sold and it looked good. This thing hasn't come out. So have you, would you happily buy an Intellivision T-shirt? I mean, have they not destroyed much of that market as well? Tarnish the name, certainly for the immediate future. And also just thinking of... So go on.
If Mark Kaminsky bought the Intellivision remnants, right? Now, first of all, a lot of those things you're talking, I think, will be utterly eroded by court costs and lawyers and all that, right? But let's say you got an aging MacBook and you got an aging server and you got some digital assets and you own the Intellivision name and you paid $10,000, right? If you came out with a shirt that had a picture of the Amico with Tommy and it just said Amico, I'd buy it for the goof. I mean,
Yeah. No, but I'm talking real stuff here. Like poster, there is sort of some love of retro, and it's been growing over the years. Now, Intellivision is like C-class video game nostalgia at best, right? Because it was such a small thing, and that population's aging out. But
I agree and I disagree.
There's still some cool, dude. How many Intellivision games ever make top 10s? Or I mean, they're they just didn't stack up to a lot of the.
No. As a competitor, technologically, they were killer. Okay, but they didn't have the bite that
they didn't have the games
Atari had. I agree with you, but I also personally I love the Intellivision. I mean, I got a couple of them. I'm looking at one here with John P. Saul, Bill Fisher, Keith. All of them signed it, man. I love this stuff, but sure. I don't know if me and people like me, equates to a viable market for much more than like if you literally make like how many, Coleco Chameleon t-shirts could we sell if we did it? 24, and the people that bought them would be happy to get them and be laughing, but it's a very small joke,
Yeah, and like so, and that's the market you're talking about. Those few, that handful of people who would buy something with that logo on it. Because if you look at like when the Intellivision Lives packages came out, like it came out on the DS, it came out on the PS2, it came out I think on PC as well. There were certain other platforms, but at that point it was like the first time those Intellivision games had been put together. The people who had Intellivision were still, buying those consoles and what have you. But now, if you bring out Intellivision Lives, you're going to put it on PS5, the latest Xbox. How many PS5 owners give a shit about a package of, 50, 60-year-old games? Not many. I just don't see the market there for the games outside of, the small market that there was, in my opinion, for the Amico.
And the thing is, I don't think that they own some of the better games. Like, do they own Dungeons and Dragons? Do they own
no.
Because
that came up already when they did like the flashback and some other stuff. Like I think they changed D&D to Minotaur.
Yeah.
Because the licensing was long since expired.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I guess the top games on there would be like Astro Smash, Night Stalker, Shark, and then I start scratching my head on what else.
Is it Frog Bog, Happy Trails, that kind of stuff?
Okay,
just because we love it doesn't mean everybody does. That's a fair point.
Yeah, so here's what I would do with it. I would license T-shirts, let somebody else take the risk. They print it, they buy it, they own it, right? License it out for T-shirts, nostalgic crap, maybe keep it. Like somebody wants to create it, they just pay me a royalty on it. I would take whatever games come along with the ownership of it, the ones we kind of just mentioned. I would package that shit up, and I would put that out on iOS and Android, and it would be $1. And you get every fucking game for $1, and you just let it collect money over time, and that's it. Maybe $2, right? And you get every Intellivision game. You can have it on your phone. You can play it. You don't really have to do much other than porting it over to play for those devices, and that's it. Like, I'm not trying to.
Okay, so of these dollars, at any point, would the people who made their original investment, who invested money, who pre-ordered these consoles, like I was one of the first people to pre-order a Founders Edition, right? Would any of these people get their money back?
No, it'll go to the investor with the biggest stake first. Will get.
So the guy that put in $2 million will get $27 back, and then
no, he will likely be
million.
The owner of the $2 million investor will likely assume the rights and the license and the properties and everything else, and the scraps. Everybody else will be in line fighting over scraps if you lawyer up and everything.
The people that lined up though to buy the Intellivision, because
they're all screwed,
right?
Yeah, you're done.
Sure,
you're not getting anything.
But because of that, the people that were willing to pre-order this thing and make it a thing, okay? Those people are now so embittered, so annoyed. Do you really think that after, pre-ordering the Intellivision Amico, and this is your market, by the way, and especially even if something could have a broader appeal and they go into like Amazon or whatever, and the first reviews this is why early adopters and the faithful are so important, because they're the ones that go in there and they're the ones that order it first. They're the ones that buy it first, and they're the ones that post about their experience, right? So, and that's the whole reason you get this stuff out there to the true believers, is so that when this thing has a hit going mainstream, there's a pile of good, enthusiastic reviews and discussions out there. When you Google Intellivision Amico, you found a bunch of really cool, exciting discussions, right? And reviews. When everything is fuck these motherfuckers, how many T-shirts are you gonna sell? You ain't selling one to me.
You know what? There's not a whole lot of games that are available for an iWatch, and you're right. It's good to have that hardcore base, but I think it's just purely a numbers game. There's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of devices out there for iOS and Android, and I think just getting it out on those platforms, a collection of crappy games for $1 or $2. People do stupid impulse purchases all the time, games for $1, or have it that you can play the first game free for the day, and if you want to play again, you can unlock the full version for $1 or something like that, and just get it out there. And I think it's just a numbers game, and the masses are going to buy it. It's going to be like, oh, arcade collection for free? Cool. Oh, you want to play the games unlimited as much as you want? It's $1 to unlock the whole thing. And you will have grandmas and people that have never even fucking heard of Intellivision and be like, oh, that looks fun. I'll buy that. That looks like a cool retro thing. I kind of remember.
Why weren't they doing that already?
Well, I don't know. I mean, but to me, that seems like a very easy way to get mass appeal and to build a broad base. I mean, put these things out as a collection. You can go and look on your phone right now, and the only thing that comes up for Intellivision is the Amico Club, where you could play, I think it's Moon Patrol. I used to have it. I deleted it. And that's it. And there's some kind of like retro thing where you can look at box art or like make fake box art or something, but there's no Intellivision collection out there on mobile devices right now, and I think that's a massive overlook. And you could hire some developers in the East that could easily port that crap. I mean, we're not talking super advanced technology here, and have a reasonable.
Probably they could get like Bill Fisher and damn it, I can't. No disrespect, Warhol. You could get those guys to do it because they did it before. Remember, they were the ones that made the.
I'd find some guy in a metal warehouse, in a third world country on a stolen, equipment to port it over for you for next to nothing off Fiverr or something. I mean, honestly,
I'm sure the workmanship will be exceptional.
Yeah, but also you got to think edition. You got to rely on sales from, like you talk about the grandmas and stuff who'll buy the odd bit, but if you think let's say you're the guy who put in $2 million and they file for bankruptcy and you get your money back, or you own the assets.
You're not getting back your $2 million.
Well, you're not getting your $2 million, but let's say you get back a portion of what you put in, plus you own all the assets. You start bringing products out, and people like Scott, who backed the thing, the Founders Edition, the Ferrari Edition, the rainbow-coloured edition, whatever it was, he's out of pocket. Is he now going to give you more money because you got your money back?
And I'm going to be fully informed of who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
But how many of those people? Hey, look, here's what
I'm the guy, and I'm telling you what I'm thinking.
I'm saying, like, if I'm the $2 million guy, right, and I'm like, Scott, hey, I appreciate you got screwed as much as I did.
But not really. Because you own all the shit.
Look, I got burned too. Here's what I'm going to do for you. There's not as many people out there like Scott as you really think there are. There's maybe what? Thousands?
I say that all the time. Dude, I totally tell on myself. How many times have I said back there in the Chameleon days, if I could walk into the store and there's a new production, not aging hardware. Believe me, I'm surrounded by aging hardware. But a new production, ready to go, console without Call of Duty kids, that is straight up awesome, original developers making new games. And like, I could walk in there, I could buy the console and all these games at $50 a pop. It wouldn't even faze me to walk out of there dropping $1,000 to get the whole collection on the first day.
Okay, but
how many of me are there?
Let's just role play this out for a second. I assume I'm the investor with $2 million take. I walk away with the television, the IP, the license, the logo, all that shit, right? And so, a Dell computer and some other bullshit. And I have the list, obviously, of all the people that backed it. And I reach out and say, hey, look, we all got screwed here. Here's my plans for Intellivision. You obviously loved it. I loved it. I believed in it. It didn't work out. But I want to keep it alive. I'm going to put this thing out on mobile devices. It's going to be $1. it's not much that I can do, but I appreciate that you believed in it at one point. So I'm going to give you a free code. It's the best I can do right now. I hope if we are able to put things out in the future that you still remember in television. You know what I mean? I think that that's going to show goodwill, and people are going to say,
what my
well,
response
fuck.
would be? Like, no shit. My no shit response, since you use me as the case study, here is what I would do. You poor, pathetic bastard. Not only did you lose $2 million to Tommy Tallarico, you're coming at me with mobile games that I don't even play or like. Who the fuck are you? You're literally in Abu Dhabi. So fucking, fucking little schmapty here is trying to give me a free download code get the fuck out of here. I laughed at you and I bought nothing from you. I didn't even take your free game.
And
right?
look at what happened to.
That's what happened. That's the actual outcome.
Look at what happened on Atari Age when, SoCal was trying to bring retro back after all the fallout. Oh, we've moved to Patreon, when we get the money, we'll do an issue. And it was basically post after post of fuck you, don't come back here, peddling your shit again. People just didn't want to know.
I will say this. But
it would build.
There's a difference there because Mike was the victimizer. Let's say we'll turn this on its ear. And we'll use a more appropriate analogy, Ely, okay? Ely came along, gave SoCal money, okay, helping bail him out of his malfeasance, right? And bought a worthless property. That dumb motherfucker still has a pallet of fucking moldy retro mags. They're doing nothing but feeding silverfish. And I'm laughing at him the whole time. Because he got what he deserved.
And he was sending out those emails.
This is classic retail brand strategy, right? So between 25 and 30%.
Doesn't make it a good thing.
No. But I'm going to say, okay, we'll just, it depends on who you ask. Somewhere between 20 and 30%. But we'll say 30% of the people are going to support you no matter what. They love you. 30% of the people are going to fucking hate you no matter what you do. You're really fighting for that chunk, that 40%, 40 to 50% of people in the middle, right? And sway them.
But what if you converted the 30% of the people that love you into your most adamant haters? Now you got 60% that hate you and 40% that heard bad things about you. It ain't good.
If we move up the marketing funnel and we say, brand aware, brand unaware, do they even know who you are? Do they remember you? I think he is targeted and funneled down over the years to such a small group of hardcore people. A lot of people, their memories are short. They will forget this. They will forgive. The Intellivision brand has some inherent value. It will live on. And if I think they put out a collection on the phone and it was $1, I would buy it. And I think a lot of our listeners would too. Maybe you wouldn't, Scott. You would be an outlier. I think a lot of people would see value. I don't think I'm an outlier.
I'm the dude that had one of the first. I remember getting the text from a friend who was in the room as they do their launch. And as soon as I got the email, I am the guy. I'm the early adopter. I'm the guy that is wanting to do it. As soon as I got the email that it was opened, I opened it up. I log in. I fill out my information. I immediately purchased 2 Founders Day editions. And I get a text from a friend who was in the room and says, "Oh, saw your order come through. Cool." Because they were all in the room excitedly watching the pre-orders come in, okay? I am the guy. I don't think I'm the outlier. I think I am the guy who's saying, fuck this toxic brand. And I said the same thing about Coleco.
Yeah, but there is a percentage of people that I think that would create some goodwill to. And how many people actually backed this thing on Kickstarter? What was it, like 2,000 people or something?
I don't remember.
How many of them had a good taste in their mouth after that?
Let me see. Amico.
How many unrefunded pre-orders are in that pile? 1,992? Nah, that's just that you.
No, Scott, they're working on refunds. It's all right. They're working on giving you your refund. Don't worry about it.
Right. You know what I said? I'd rather have the console. Like, I would literally rather have, for the money I paid for the pre-order, I would rather have a fucking Amico shell with the controllers, their buggy ass firmware, whatever, whatever the finished product was in whatever box, bag, used Starbucks drink tray, whatever the hell is the final finish for the money, I'd rather have that to sit on the fucking table next to my authentic Chris Cardillo worn Coleco Chameleon booth shirt that Mike Kennedy personally ordered with his company credit card off of like t-shirts.com. I would much rather have that than anything else. I don't want my money back. I want the whatever the carcass of this thing is for the goof, right? But at no point do I take it seriously. And certainly whoever inherits this thing is not going to get money or business from me. The only thing they're going to get is my scorn and laughter. What would I ever buy from Ely at Pico Interactive? If he was selling me a fucking cold soda and I was thirsty, I'd wait. I mean, oh, look, there's a mud puddle. I trust that more.
I don't know why Kickstarter is in French for me. Hold on. There we go.
Bouton de merde.
It was a Kickstarter, wasn't it?
I didn't. I just went and did a direct order. Then again, it's 3 fucking years ago.
And also, they've done about 3 or 4 different fundraising things, one of which they halted.
Oh yeah, and each time I got the email after a super delayed production with sketchy information coming out, each time I got the email saying, "Hey, you want to invest money?" I replied with, "Are you fucking high? There's no way after you miss targets, underperform, and get caught bullshitting that I am going to invest in your company. Are you stupid? How tone deaf are you? Sending out cyber begging emails to people that you owe products and or money to." Nah, I'm just saying, dude. I respect your opinion. I'd love to see how it turns out. But I would say for a decade, it's a toxic dead brand, as is Coleco. Hell, even longer. Because here it is. It's been how many years since the Coleco Chameleon? What, 4 or 6 years? And it's still a toxic joke? It ain't good.
Okay, it wasn't a Kickstarter. I don't know why I thought it was.
Oh, they could have done one. I don't remember.
No, they did. They did Fig.
And who's ever going to touch? Look, dude, there are people that went to the video game.
They took pre-orders directly on their own site, so yeah, you don't really have any kind of backing from like a third-party company enforcing that.
No, and if you call your credit card, they literally say, "Well, that was 3 years ago, sir. There's nothing we can do for you." Even if you have a good credit card company, they'll tell you to go screw. So. Dude, if Tommy Tallarico, let's say he did Video Games Live, right? Again, I wouldn't go see it, even if I saw it and enjoyed it in the past. I wouldn't give this guy 2 cents for anything. Okay.
Don't let the bad blood spill over into Video Games
Live. Yeah, no, literally that UK just nailed it. UK just put the frosting, stuck the candle in it, and lit it, and threw it down in front of you. That's what this has turned into. Please don't let any of this stuff spill over to Video Games Live. Now, are there people out there, like if Video Games Live came to DC, my town, and rented out the Kennedy Center, and they were playing, Halo with the orchestra? Yeah, right. If they were playing, it's a good one too. If they were playing Halo with an orchestra, there is a ginormous number of people who went to see that before, who would go to see it again, who never heard of the Tallarico Chameleon, who probably would go. And yeah, but with his reputational history in business, would you think you could find somebody to back that tour financially? Does he have the money to do it? I'm going to say it's probably no on both cases.
So interestingly, and sure, we had the pandemic. They did their last show February 28th, 2020 in Jacksonville, Florida, right? That was right before the pandemic started dropping about that week or shortly thereafter. They did one show March 27th, 2021 in Texas. And then they did one show this year, April 2nd, in Tacoma, Washington, and they have not done another show. So I think it's kind of strange that they didn't have any video games live shows. Usually that summer sort of con circuit is their most popular time. If you look at, past years, they usually start touring somewhere around March, and usually, quite a few shows in June, July, August, all the way through November. So, but there's always been a normal cadence of shows. I mean, I've seen them twice here in Charlotte, but
let me ask you this: if they came around again, okay?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a great fucking show.
You would put money in Tommy Tallarico's pocket. You would go to see the show.
But it's not just him, man. It's all the different musicians and stuff that come along. That blind guy that plays the piano, whatever the hell his name is, that dude's amazing.
Fingers McGillicuddy, I know him. But look, if I could go and bring 4 cases of eggs and sit up there and hurl them, maybe I'd pay the admission money. There's no way I'm putting money in this guy's pocket. Absolutely not. No way am I going to see his video games live ever again.
There's no mention of the Amico on Video Games Live.
Are you surprised?
I wonder why.
Yeah. So thank you, listeners, for joining us for live news. We'll catch you again next month.
There's a sale going on.
This is the topic of our day.
You can buy right now. Everything is 50% off in the Video Games Live store, and you can buy the Video Games Live digital Tommy Tallarico compendium for 50% off normal retail price of $100 for only $50 right now.
Pass.
And you're allowed to add a tip, which is interesting.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Show your appreciation. All right, let's get into news, guys. We got shit to do.
We just did. I know.
Yeah.
Dude, come on. That is a huge topic with recent developments that is impactful to our hobby. So that's definitely worth the time to explore that.
But there's never gonna be. I seriously doubt like a new competitor comes along. I mean, there's a story here. Actually, let me jump into this story because I think this dovetails good into what we're talking about. I saw it come through, and I just gotta find it. Hold on. There is a ton of fucking news. Okay, so this one came in from Peter Gibbs. Stadia isn't dead. And I think this is good because
on my studio door.
Yeah, because like. This just shows like how hard it is for somebody else to come along and create a new console. I mean, it'll be a digital platform. I think hardware is very difficult to do, especially with the prevalence of online games and things like that. I've had some friends playing the Steam Deck, great. Pinball, great. Nintendo, yes. PlayStation, Sony, Xbox 360 platform, the Xbox, Microsoft platform, sure. But here's the Stadia one from Peter Gibbs. Stadia superfans still clocking thousands of hours on the service everyone thought was dead. So it launched in 2019. Bad news, bad reviews, disappeared. Like no one was really talking about it, doing anything with it. It was complicated, expensive, restrictive. It's Google, frigging Google. It's Google's cloud-based video game streaming service. I don't know many companies that have more resources than fucking Google, And they, there's reports, they ditched the platform, it's gone, blah, blah, blah. I mean, even the controllers, I remember talking on one of the news sessions with Dave a few years back, and he was digging the controllers, right? I think he got it. Did he have it, or was it you?
He has one. I got one. I got it free when I bought the new house, and we got fiber put in as part of the build, and then you just like ring up BT, they activate it. But as part of that deal, you got a free Stadia, and it was the Pro Edition. So you got the controller, you got the new Chromecast that has, the Ethernet port on it, and all of that. And I think you got 3 months membership. Maybe it was only 1 month. I forget now. And I did it for those 3 months and then cancelled it. The controller is amazing. I really, 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 really like the controller. And it's great for RetroPie. You plug it in. You have to use a USB cable until someone figures out, how to wirelessly make it work. You've got to use a USB-C cable. But if you do that, the controller is amazing. It's one of the best controllers I've ever used. But the system, I mean, I know what you're saying. You say, this is Google. This is, who has more resources than Google? But don't forget.
And then look at the result.
Yeah, but Google come with a reputation of killing things off that are apparently successful. Now, let's say Sony had done this, pretty much nowadays mainly known for video games, or let's say Nintendo did it. I think it would have perhaps got a bigger foot in the market than than it being done by Google, because they have this reputation. We've given it 2 years. It's not really competing with the PS5. We'll shut it down and we'll do something else.
Yeah, and I mean, they have a long in the article cites that Google's history of destruction, of shutting down otherwise ending apps and services that are seemingly popular and stuff like that. Maybe they don't see a long tail for them or whatnot. They've shut down all kinds of different services over the years, but these guys are like, there's a guy in here quoted saying modern consoles just don't work for him. He has little time, so by the time he plugs in his PlayStation 4 and there's another goddamn update, he has to download it and look for a disc and stuff. He's like, I plug in my Stadia, everything's ready to go. I just hit play and the game is going, and that's it. No waiting for downloads and shit like that. And everything
and the
else.
games are bug free.
And it works for him.
No updates needed.
It works for him. It's running off of a server farm somewhere, and his internet speeds start reaching theoretical speeds and things like that. You'll see more of these type of systems in the future. I think this maybe is too early, but that's where it's going. I mean, just look how a lot of these digital things work. I mean, this could be the last or second to last generation of physical hardware.
Well, we've had interviews on our show with industry veterans who've said this is going to be the last gen of consoles, and that was like the PS3 was out. I forget who it was who said it, but there's been more than one. But then the PS4 came out, and now the 5. I think we're getting closer to that tipping point, but I don't think we're there yet, to be honest.
No, I mean we're getting very close. The consoles, the main consoles that came out did have a digital only version that there is no drive, physical medium drive, and that will likely be the case again. Like, you'll pay a premium if you want the physical stuff. They can discount it. I think Steam has been a pretty successful platform. I downloaded that game Stray, the cat game that we've been playing here, and I don't download a lot of games, but I've definitely been buying more digital games over the last, as time goes on. I'll just say that. And as hardware and storage and stuff like that seemingly isn't a problem like it used to be as much. Although I will say the PS5 certainly just did not have enough storage on it as much as I do have to do this shell game of deleting games and things like that that I wish I didn't have to do. I wish it just would have came with like a 4 terabyte drive or something. But it's like anything. You move into a bigger house, you fill it up with shit, right? So.
You sent in another one as well. I think it was you, about video game sales falling in general. Now that could be partly industry related, but I think it's also probably financial markets related as well. People are in for a tough autumn and winter, I think.
Yeah.
Got one here from Ryan Toole, and it says Commodore 64 gets a modern OS with modern features. So Link here to Hackaday, and it's pretty cool. Guy does it looks like a very early, like Windows 1/Mac. And there's like, apps like a calculator and everything else. I don't, I mean, I would probably download this and boot it up on my, the C64. I just to maybe see it. It's a cool. I mean, definitely. I'm not crap on somebody's project. It's a cool thing. It's an experiment. A what if, but what's the utility? Does it let me play newer, better games on the Commodore? No, not really. So it's a pretty cool, reasonable scientific calculator on a Commodore on a Windows OS. Okay, I love that he did it, but there's no real application for it. But definitely worth taking a look at what he achieved, though. What he achieved, and we're talking 320 by 200 is the resolution, right?
Mm.
And you're going to get a meaningful toolbar, windows. That's a heck of a challenge. So he definitely squeezed unbelievable things out of this to do a Windows 1.0, or well, I'll even say it's closer to Windows 2, but to get that out of hardware that's 1/10 as powerful, mad props to this guy. So I don't see it doing anything other than the fact that he gets the bragging rights of doing it, but pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a novelty. Gareth Hamer sent us one in down at the bottom. I'm just jumping to because it's the other C64 one we got this month, and that is it's coming up on 40 years old. There's a lengthy article there, big write-up on theguardian.com. There is no other reason to visit that site other than read that lengthy article. So thank you for that.
Here. Let's see. David Gyrich sent in this one. It's the Lost Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past 2, and it's a YouTube video. And basically, they cover the BS, the Legend of Zelda: Ancient Stone Tablets, which was a downloadable 4-part series for the BSX broadcasting system add-on for the Super Famicom in Japan. It was some kind of like satellite service, and it's like a pseudo sequel to A Link to the Past. I've seen some videos of it over the year. You could only play like 60 minutes a week or something. It had like in-game events. I mean, it was too early, right? Was basically the case of this. Is like a broadcast game in Japan. It came out in '97, but for those of you that are interested in the Legend of Zelda and some of the lesser known sort of oddities, it's an interesting little watch.
So got one here that UK Mike submitted, and he and I were talking about the other day. Wayne Nyans has passed away. Now, the name might not immediately be apparent to you, but you've seen his work. The guy lived to be 104. He was a prolific pinball designer, something I would encourage all of our listeners to do, even at the price of listening to the rest of the show here. Pause the show, go over, go to IPDB, the Internet Pinball Database, and search Wayne Nyans. It's Neyens as the designer, okay? Look at what the guy did in his lifetime, okay? He is just like the most amazing designer of games and had a super long track record, right? I mean, games like College Days, Spirit of 76, those are like two of my favorites that I've got. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and the guy just designed. Super long track record. So he did a tremendous service to the pinball community. He will be missed. But this guy's a class act, man. It's sad to see a guy like this go. Somebody like this just put their heart and soul and for decades into creating amazing experiences. So Gonna miss that guy.
Yeah, he was
Oh, he did,
a guest on. He was a guest on Topcast. I've got an archive of the show. Listen to one every now and then. He was on Show 30 from April 25th, 2007. If you are interested and have access to that.
He worked on Whoa Nelly and Pap's Can Crusher, which are newer releases.
Yeah, he was
Yeah, I mean,
still
if you
going.
want to call somebody, get some input. I mean, Mr. Nines, would you talk to me for a few minutes about my game?
Yeah.
Who else would you call?
Man, hell of a run. Good job.
Yeah.
Did he do Cactus Canyon?
I don't remember, dude. He's done so much.
He did.
I'm going to a pinball arcade tonight.
I think he did
just to play Cactus Canyon.
We also lost this month. Not a video game designer, but definitely associated with the video game industry. An artist, in fact, Oliver Frey. You will know the name from Crash Magazine, Zap Magazine, and lots of game art covers. And Ollie passed away this last week, so another one who will be sadly missed.
How old was Ollie?
I think he was in his 70s.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't that old.
No, 70's the new 60. So yeah, not a great age, but a regular at Expos until Expos stopped, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked to him more than a few times.
Yeah.
Got one here from David Gyrich. It's a video, guy up on YouTube, Greg Stewart did. And it's about an hour long, and it's a retrospective of 1990 for the Genesis. And man, I gotta tell you, that Genesis launch, that was one of the most anticipated consoles for me in all the history of video games. I think that one and the Wii were two of my favorite launches. Just a tremendous piece of hardware that I still enjoy to this day. So give it a watch. It's it actually reminded me of, even though I've got a Genesis, I got the SD card, I've got it on RetroPie and everything else, a million ways to play it. Just in sort of scrolling through that video, there was a couple, I remember that one. And I hadn't played it in a while. So definitely a good little walk to take a look at there.
Yeah. Interestingly, you mentioned the Wii. That's the first launch console that I'd bought for many years. It had been, the early consoles that I'd bought at launch, and then just never bothered. I'd get one whenever. But the Wii was pretty much an immediate purchase for me, and not one I regret. But speaking about the Genesis, or the Mega Drive, whichever side of the pond you're on, the Mega Drive 2 we've mentioned a few times. It will only have a 10th of the previous retro console supply. So get them while you can. I don't know why. Maybe it's a shortage of parts. Maybe it's just false market manipulation. I don't know. But then doesn't sound like they're making a huge amount. But they have also now announced a Europe release date. And where is it there? I think it's the same date as the US launch. They just waited a while to announce it. I'm not sure. You will be able to get it in Europe from the 27th of October, the same day as North America. Yeah, and I think they've released the list of games as well. Although when I clicked on the link, it wasn't working and I couldn't find them. So maybe it's working now. I don't know.
Let's see.
So
got one here from David Gyrich, and he says, with homebrew projects like this, it's a shame they don't just give you the option to buy the ROM directly. And he links to Lost Terminal Pixel Heart. Okay, so it's a guy who's made a Game Boy cartridge, right? Good looking box. It's an authentic cartridge. I get it. Like we went through this. He did 500 limited copies, right? So, you order, and it's not terribly expensive. It's 39, let me see, that's dollars, pounds, whatever, 39 euros. So it's not terribly expensive. And he's going to make 500 of them. Now we went through this with CG Adventures. We had to choose how many to make, and if we had released the ROM immediately, that could severely impact, how many copies you're going to sell, which impacts how many copies to even order. So there's a lot. There's a lot of reasons why he didn't just release the ROM. Now, as soon as we could, we went ahead and let the ROM just go out there because we made it available for purchase. We appreciated the people that bought it, that bought the ROM from us, and because it was helpful, and then we later put it out there for free once we could. So I get it, that's kind of why he probably had to do it this way.
Yep. And
got another one from David Gyrich. This is a bootleg SNK Game Boy games found and dumped. This one was pretty interesting. So, 3 newly discovered SNK fighting games for the Game Boy Color. Apparently, this year, 3 new fighting games for Game Boy Color have been dumped, and it's SNK's Gal Fighters, King of Fighters, and Soul Falchion, Samurai Showdown, Last Blade inspired game. So it's a video that you can watch on YouTube. And basically, it goes on, like they also mentioned some other games that have been dumped, like a Chinese Mega Man that's surprisingly good for Game Boy Color. It's interesting. I think, in a way, some of these pirates are doing some, interesting work that maybe they're profiting from it in a way that here we have more pure hobbyists that are trying to port and dump things, but they're probably selling some kind of bootleg Game Boy Color over there in China would be my assumption. I don't know, but they've recycled some of the art assets and whatnot, and been able to put these out on one of these bootleg Game Boy Color carts. And according to this dude in the video, it's actually a pretty sweet port. I watched it. They look good. I don't own a Game Boy Color, so I'm not really trying to play these games. A port of a game on a Game Boy Color, just sort of a weird thing to me. What do you think, guys?
It's an odd one. I mean, I do like the Game Boy Color, and they did some amazing things with it. It's not something I would go out and buy, I don't think, but it's
if I'm going to play King of Fighters, not on Game Boy Color.
No, but I mean, we mentioned this before. It's great that it's been found. It's great that it's been dumped, and it's great that it's been shared. It's the people who hold on to this stuff and this is mine. That we mentioned in the past. But it's good that it's found. It's good that it's dumped. But nah, not for me. Another one from David Gyrick again. It's the Saga of Grey Imports. It's
that's one I had. Damn it. Go ahead.
Well,
it's a good one. It's a real good one.
Well, you do it, because I was just going to say go and read it later. It's one I've marked for later. It's a long article.
So it's definitely one you want to read, Mike. I mean, mark it, save it, read it. He sort of talks about first of all, have you ever heard of Grey Imports? You know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically getting games from outside of your market or hardware, right? And he goes through just a really verbose but wonderful discussion of, what is a gray market? And mainly it's UK focused. So he discusses some things that are a little different than what gray market was in the US. And, he talks about sort of the good old days where there'd be video game magazines that would have like the black and the white ads of like all the import games and all. Some of the stuff wouldn't work on domestic hardware. So, if you had like a frequency converter and a 220 to 110 converter, and you were running multi-system TV. See, I kind of had the other problem. I was trying to run NTSC and PAL while living in Europe. So multi-system TVs were, expensive, harder to find. It was not an easy thing. But I certainly loved, being able to get a hold of games that they wouldn't sell you in your market. some executive said, "Oh, we're not going to bring that one to the U.S." Oh, hell with you! I'm going to go and get one. Dude, I have gray marketed cars. Subaru did a special edition of the STI called the 22B. They did not make many. They were pretty hard to get. Like the Sultan of Brunei bought two. I mean, and they only made, I can't remember the number. It wasn't many. But I gray marketed one into the U.S. And years later, I'm at this Subaru show called Boxer Fest. And one of the guys from Subaru came over. He was asking me about my Brat, and we were chatting. And I mentioned the 22B, and he goes, "That was you?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, we knew there was one in the country other than ours, but we weren't sure who it was." I was like, "Were you trying to shut me down?" He goes, "Some lawyers are concerned, but we all thought it was pretty cool, But yeah, gray market's just so cool, man. But then he talks about it today, like, well, he's talking about, like, say, he talks about the different eras, like the 70s, the 80s, and like, here's a little snippet. In the early 90s, I could and regularly did drive into Los Angeles and visit 5 different stores that sold nothing but new and used import games. That was kind of a big deal, man. Then later on, he's talking about how, like, you'd go in the back of the ads, the ads in the back of the magazine, order some of those. And then let's see here. Some of the run-ins with the industry trying to shut them down for, disobeying the strategy. But yeah, it's a huge article. So much content in there. Now, I personally loved gray market stuff, both ways. And when I was living in the U.S., get stuff from Europe, living in Europe, I wanted stuff coming in from the U.S. And I was kind of a hub of gray market to a small degree, because I could directly order stuff from the U.S. because you have what's called a APO, which is basically it's like any other U.S. address. So there's no import restrictions, no nothing. You can just order things from home or have family and friends send you things. So, like my German friends would ask me, "Oh, can you get this?" I'm like, "Yeah, easy." So, a month later, once it went through the mail, "Hey, here you go." Right. So I get it. Did either of you two ever do any like gray market imports or buying stuff that wasn't directly available?
Not video game related. No.
Really?
No.
You know what?
I did it by accident. I bought, not by accident. Somebody bought me a PlayStation game from the States while they were there on holiday. And it was the X-Files, which was like a 4-disc PS1 game. And luckily, my console was modded so I could play it when they brought it back. But that's probably about it, I think. I mean, I've got a few Famicom cartridges over there that I've just picked those up at expos rather than import them myself.
Yeah, I've bought some like multi-carts, and I bought some kind of like Chinese system before that had like Contra and crap on it, but not like heavy import or anything like that.
There is one here, keeping it Japanese. It was from David Gyrick again. Final Fantasy X becoming a kabuki play in Japan. Kabuki, I'm assuming, is some sort of Japanese theatre, and they're bringing Final Fantasy X to the stage. I don't think it'll make it outside of Japan, but interesting that they're putting it on stage. And also, we have a thing over here in the summer called... I don't know if it's the BBC who own it or if they just show it on TV, called the Proms, which is like a summer of classical music concerts. And they, for the first time ever, are doing an evening themed on video game music. So it's
okay. So
yeah.
One from Peter Gibbs is about Netflix games, which is kind of interesting. So. Basically not doing so good, right? They started rolling out Netflix games. Did you guys even know about Netflix? Do you have Netflix or know about Netflix games?
Yes.
We dropped it when they started showing kid porn and stuff like he's having a baby. We dropped it. Done. So done.
So they last year, I think the end of last year or something, they started rolling out Netflix games. And this article goes on to say that, since they've been rolling it out, there's at least 23 million downloads of Netflix games, but the average retaining player base of 1.7 million. Their total subscriber base is over 220 million. So most people don't even know or care about their games. Their business has been struggling quite a bit.
When you have 11-year-old girls twerking and people are like, no. Yeah, no interest.
Well,
I'm not buying from sadistic scum like that.
I like some of the shows the sadistic scum puts out, like Gray Man, Stranger Things, Witcher. Beyond that, not a whole lot that I'm following up on Netflix for, but my family uses it quite a bit. But they purchased Next Games, kind of rolled that into Netflix to become Netflix Games. And it's confusing because generally when I watch Netflix, I like watching it on my 90-inch television in my living room. Sometimes I'll lay in bed and watch it on my iPad, or if I'm on the go or something like that. But the way Netflix Games works, and I think that a lot of this has to do with user experience. It only works on like iOS or Android devices. Doesn't work on a TV player. Can't hook up a controller or something to your TV or Roku or however you're getting Netflix on there. So you have to use one of their touch screens, and then they have like this whole subset, and it's not like you just install, like you have the Netflix app installed on your phone. You're like, oh, I'm gonna play some Netflix games in my Netflix app. No, you have to download the app for the game. So, in my case, it was like Netflix Dungeon Dwarfs. So I have to download some whole other fucking app from the store and install that on my phone to play the Netflix games. Like, that's stupid because I have to now install some other bullshit. And, I remember when they rolled this out, they're like, it's free, it's included, like you get all this shit. And it sounded interesting. It was like, hey, okay, they can start doing some things with their IP, like they did Stranger Things 1984 and some other stuff. And then when I got like Dungeon Dwarves, I was like, cool, like free game, like have my kids try out some of this shit. It's free, right? I'm already paying for it. I get this game. Cool, I'm going to try it out. Fucking microtransactions. What? Like, come on, man. Like, it's not, at that point, you're like any other stupid free game on the iTunes store that, you want some extra gems for your, pet duck or something that's going to be $4.99 or just some bullshit. So, same old shit. I think it would go a long way if it was just like it operated within your app. So, like, hey, I want to watch a new episode of Dark or something like that. I click on it, starts going. I should be able to just click on a game in their app and start playing it. It doesn't work like that. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah. So a game that looks interesting here, sent in by David Gyrick, Arcade Management Sim. It's a link to a YouTube video, the trailer for it, called Arcade Paradise. And it looks kind of interesting. You start off, it's a laundrette or laundromat, as you might call it. And so you stick in, an arcade machine in the corner, and then you start to build up from there. You clean the place up, and you get some more machines in, you pick your games, etc. It looks interesting. So where is it? Load up on tokens. Launches. It's already out. Launched on August 11th on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. So it's called Arcade Paradise. So have a look for that.
Got another one here from Mr. Gyrich, and it's one we covered last month. Just reiterating, somebody's making a new production VMU for the Dreamcast, and it's really cool.
Really cool.
Something sent in from MK. This is a forward from friend of the show, Ryan Berger at Old School Gamer Magazine. It's a Kickstarter, and they've been doing Old School Gamer magazine for the last 4 or 5 years. They've published 29 issues and are due to send out issue 30. I think they have a Patreon, I'm pretty sure, but they're doing a Kickstarter they need some funding to print the thing. You can kickstart it and support them. $20 get you a digital subscription, 6 issues. $50 get you a year of print, which I think is pretty lean these days with, physical stuff. And if you pay $95, you get a lifetime digital subscription. $100 get you a seat on their advisory board. There's some other tiers there. You could be their publisher for $1,000. I think Mike Kennedy should opt in for that one. But they're trying to reach $30,000 to print this thing. Right now they're at $12,075. They got 95 backers, 19 days to go. I will say this: I think that they've had some interesting issues. I think the design has come a long way from the beginning days of it. There's some really good content in there if you're looking to read some stuff. I think that this is definitely a labor of love. These guys are doing it. So if you like getting a physical magazine still, not a bad one to pick up. You can support them for $50 and get yourself 6 issues. I think is a fair deal.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Just to finish that one off, the design has got better. There was a few of the issues, particularly early on, where I had trouble reading it. With the color of the text over the background picture, the background was various colors, and it's hard to pick a single color for the text that works laid over it. And sometimes it made it quite difficult to read some of the articles, but it seems to.
I think the editorial content was always pretty decent. I still think it's like a long way off from a magazine like Megavision's, design aesthetic and things like that. Like I don't, it still has a ways to go. But as far as like editorial content, you just want to, throwback magazine to show up and something fun to read, maybe find some interesting editorial in there. It's a fair deal, $50. Mm-hmm. So, check them out on Kickstarter. Maybe think about support.
Got one here that Mr. James turned in. There's a German munition. Oh shit! We've been doing that before.
No, again.
No. We'll have no more of that. Pipe down. German musician, Remute, known for releasing albums on retro hardware, now making his latest album available on the Game Boy Advance as a cartridge. The album, titled Unity, features 15 songs about unification, division, trust. The cartridge is compatible with all Game Boy, SP, Nintendo DS Lite, or Analog Pocket consoles without the need for region lock. So follow that link, and if you like techno, grab it.
So one here from David Gyrick. It's an online game, Guess the Game. Your daily video game guessing puzzle. However many modern games are on it, he says. And it's a link to a website. They show you a picture, and you type in the name of the game you think it is, and you submit it, and the game renews every day. So there has been some new games that I didn't know, but might be worth a go. You will know the newer games better than I do.
Got one in from a listener of the show, Lazy Dave. And this one is how Atari's new CEO is pressing continue for the Californian software company. And this is actually a really good interview. I think you guys would enjoy reading it. It's NME talks with the with the CEO about, why Atari refuses to die. And the new CEO, Wade Rosen, who looks like very young. I don't know how old this guy is, but, they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. And, this guy is talking about how 13-year-olds wear Nirvana T-shirts and saying that, Atari T-shirts are in the same sort of nostalgia genre as the rest, and what he's looking to do, and the reception of Recharge has been great, and all this other stuff. It's quite a long interview on some of this stuff, what Atari's going to continue to do, but yeah, I mean, I just think it's one of those great brands with an iconic logo and some beautiful form factor design to the original and even the newer console and some of the IP and stuff. And I think it's probably going to be celebrating many more anniversaries than just the 50th. So there you go.
I just hope at some point somebody competent with the right funding comes along and creates something we care about.
Well, let's see what this Wade Rosen, what he came from. Hold on. I don't know that we covered when he became appointed CEO. Let's see. He's 35 years old. He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, third antipreneur. So got one here from Gareth Hamer, Super Mario PT, and it says somebody turned Mario 64 into a first-person horror game. So I checked out the trailer, and what somebody did is they put a render of a red shirt with a white glove holding a lantern walking through the castle in Mario 64. So if I'm missing something, Gareth, let me know, but that's what it looks like to me.
I stepped away to get a beverage and get some ice from my new ice maker, which arrived today. You put water in.
You have a separate ice maker over there?
Ice?
I do what?
Is there a separate ice maker?
Yeah. Paula used to have one on like an American fridge freezer, but we left that at her old house. So I bought like a countertop one.
Yeah, that's like a rare thing over here.
Is it? I got it off Amazon. You can see them in the supermarkets here, but Amazon sell them as well.
No, like if you went into somebody's house in America and they had an ice maker on the countertop,
yeah,
you'd think you entered the fucking Twilight Zone.
No doubt.
Does it make those balls for like whiskey or anything?
No, it's not the balls. I have got like a rubber one that makes those. It makes like a row of 4 of them. No, it has like these metal prongs that come down and sit in water. They get really cold and they build up at like a hollow sort of ice cube around them, and then they heat up momentarily. The ice drops off into a basket, and it, a scraper.
Does it look
comes
like
along.
sort of like a mushroom?
They're like a hollowed out cone. Like if you imagine a traffic cone that's more rounded, it's like that.
Okay, because we have in my office, we have something that it's almost like a mushroom with a hole in it, and those are kind of interesting ice cubes. Let's take a quick sidebar on ice cubes here.
Ice into you.
Yeah, do your ice cubes come out clear or frosted? Because I think that's the problem with American in refrigerator ice machines is they come out frosted and not clear, and that's because they don't cool from one direction.
Ours are clear.
I like the chunky, like the little chips too, like the little pebbles of ice, like especially in soda. I like that better than, like mine are sort of like a half moon shaped ice that come out of my refrigerator. Not a big fan of those.
The problem with the small chips is they melt really quickly and just water down your drink too much.
Yeah, but there's something about slushing around soda with those chips, like at least initially, that's really good. You're right. It waters it down too quickly.
Yeah. Good sidebar. An ice sidebar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen those ice strips you can get around the edge of bars? Like it's literally
Yeah.
a strip of ice around the edge of the bar. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I do like that. I actually watched some videos, like some whiskey making videos, not too long ago. These guys like showing how to like chip your own ice, and like they're making giant blocks of ice and then freezing it, and how to get like the proper clear ice and everything out of your freezer with
At work.
using like a little cooler and letting it freeze directionally so you get the clear ice. Pretty
Yeah, there's a guy I watch on YouTube, Kent Rollins, who he's out in Oklahoma. He literally goes like to ranches cooking outside, and he has a YouTube channel where he cooks on open fires in cast iron and stuff. And he always calls the fridge the ice box, because literally it was a box that you put a huge block of ice in to keep cool. And the ice truck would come round and bring you a new block of ice.
Got another one from David Gyrick, and this one is a new movie that's been optioned for Gravity Rush. So Gravity Rush film based on PlayStation game in the works from PlayStation Productions and Scott Free and Mastro, and attached to be directed from Emily Jerome's script. So I never played Gravity Rush on PS4. Did any of you guys? I think the game came out. It's like 2012 action adventure game.
I did not.
No.
Looks like something I would actually enjoy. Just haven't got around to playing it. Kind of anime style looking game, but looks like you'll be maybe getting a movie. You know, a lot of these things they get optioned, and then who knows how it goes. But let's see. Based on a true story, throwing spotlights a drug ring bust. No, that was the previous one. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe another video game movie coming out. Will it be a good one? Probably.
And we got a couple of people submit this video game movie one. One was Charlie, and the first one was me. And Sega are now turning Space Channel 5 and Comics Zone into movies. So what do we think about that? I mean, Space Channel 5, well, they both seem an odd choice. I mean, Comic Zone, I guess, you know, we've had sort of comic-related movies for years, but Space Channel 5 seems a bit of an odd one.
Very. Since I only really remember it because they had the reporter that they used in like Jet Set Radio or something, and I vaguely remember that because I bought an Xbox when it came out.
So, ooh la la.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's like the sum total of what I know about that.
Yeah.
So got one here from Mr. Lanky, and it is a link to 86box.net, and it says emulator of retro x86 based machines, meaning the 8086, 8286, 8386, 8486, DOS, like DOSBox, right? So it looks like it's a new take on DOSBox. So you can download the stable release or the experimental release. Pretty modest requirements, as you would expect, right? So like Intel Core 2 Duo or Athlon 64. So if you have a PC made in this century, you're good. And then they walk you through how to, set it up, and so you can play your DOS games, right? So he says here, perhaps Scott could do tinker and do a hardware flashback with the pros and cons of each approach, right? Well, the pro is you don't have to own original hardware. The con is you're not playing on original hardware. So, I mean, not to be simple, but
welcome to the hardware flashback.
And that's all I have to say about the war in Vietnam. But no, I just like my original hardware modified, right? So, for example, my favorite x86 PC, DOS PC, is a Tandy 1000HX. I've detailed all the mods. I got like half dozen of these things, but I've detailed all the mods I've done to include recently doing the CGA to HDMI. So the reason being, I can literally just plug up a HDMI coming out of the back of this Tandy 1000HX, and it goes right into I've got a 10 position HDMI switch that does the audio stripping automatically. So when I hit the button for, say HDMI 2, it shows the video coming from the Tandy. The sound is automatically routed to the speakers I have in the room, and all is well, and it works great. And I got this big, beautiful, bright monitor, and I don't have to fuss around with, anything. So, I like having the modem, the Wi-Fi modem on it, so I can hit the BBSs. I like having a compact flash hard drive that, rather than trying to have a 35-year-old, that's guaranteed, drive that's guaranteed to die on you. And I like having the floppy emulator, so I can stick in a USB stick with any floppy images I need. Like, for example, that 46 laptop I bought, I'm going to do a hardware flashback on that. But, I got a compact flash card adapted to it, and I got a drive emulator adapted to it. And the first thing I did is I loaded OS2 Warp on it because I knew it would be a great OS2 Warp machine. So now I got OS2 Warp Connect running on a laptop, which is really cool. But, yeah, I mean, it's emulation, and that's kind of what it is. So I like the original hardware, so I prefer that. But I'm not opposed to emulation, obviously. I think RetroPie is one of the coolest things out there. So, oh, by the way, just a quick note on that. The Pies are unfreaking obtainable right now. You're not finding a zero. It's ridiculous. However, the $250 to $300 packages that were out there, where you could get like the screen, the case, the battery, everything you needed to stick a Pi Zero into, or a compute module, and have basically a portable RetroPie that is in the shape of an original Game Boy. Those are down like under $100 now. So check those out. They're on Amazon or on eBay. They're on other websites. I picked up two slightly different ones, and as soon as the compute module comes back in stock, I'm going to be ready to go. But now is the time to buy those, because since there's no Pies available, they're not selling these, so they keep dropping the price on them. So great time to buy.
Yeah, I bought the bundle when I got the Pi 400. I know it's the full form factor with the keyboard, and it's often the smaller stuff that people want. But the Pi 400s are out there, but you've got to be careful, because in Europe at least, you'll see like one that's maybe 30 quid cheaper than usual, and you think, oh, I'll get that. And then you realise you just bought the German keyboard one. So you do need to make sure it's the QWERTY keyboard.
Got a new one in from Charlie on the Denuvo introducing Switch anti-emulator protection. Denuvo, the controversial anti-tamper technology used in many PC games, is now being expanded to prevent piracy on the Switch. I guess basically they will install this into games, so it will prevent them from being emulated on the PC. It's a little confusing to me because I'm not sure, but it talks about how the built-in toolchain will have no impact on the gaming experience, even though they're saying in the past, like on Rise of Tomb Raider, sort of broke the game on Steam and stuff when they implemented this stuff. So,
well, I'm willing to bet it, just because they say, oh, it'll have no effect, it probably has an effect. But beyond that, I don't care. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. Because every time, if you've noticed this, every time they put their foot down, whether it be video game manufacturers or, say, automotive manufacturers with their ECUs, if I had $1 for every unhackable ECU out there, which is the computer that runs the engine, so you can't make modifications to, increase the power, whatever, I would have a whole pile of money. It's a silly notion because they roll this out now to protect it. I don't care about emulation on the Switch now. I just don't, right? Like when the 3DS came out 11 years ago, right? I went out and bought games for it. I didn't really care about emulating. Now it's just an old handheld. dude, slap a multi in there or load it up, done, right? So it'll protect games in immediacy in 5 years, in 10 years, when the Switch there'll be an emulator that just, it'll eat that for breakfast. Uh, or
Sure,
there'll be a very simple cart that sticks into the Switch that runs the games off SD that defeats that protection. Because guess what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, that will be defeated. So they spend a pile of money, increase the games to solve nothing.
well, and they do go on to say that the aim here is for studios to increase the revenue during the game launch window, which is the most important period to monetize their property. For anybody wishing to buy a legitimate copy, that early window is when they're just trying to prevent piracy. So every industry has leakage, right? So, vending machines, people steal from them. Retail stores, 7-Eleven, people steal shit. Every industry has a different level of leakage that they can tolerate, and that they sort of built in. Like they realized, retail somewhere around 10%, something like that, and that's sort of an acceptable level in most places, between 5 and 10%. So I'd be curious to understand what the estimates and projections are of some of these Switch games being pirated. I think it's weird because I just think it's more of a family console for the most part. Most people are buying Nintendo properties, so if you're pirating Switch games, were you gonna buy them anyway? I don't know.
Probably not. For me, I don't think you would. For me, I think my process in this, and this is how it's been since, for me personally, since like the Sega Genesis, when I had a cartridge copier, because then you could get a blank cartridge, you could go rent the game, copy it, and then you had it, right? And honestly, I didn't even do it then for like the money savings, because by the time you buy the device to do the cartridge copy, you're not going to save a damn dime, right? I know of people that pirated Satellite for decades that spent more on the gear to do it than they would have spent on the subscription because it was more about doing it, right? And the technical challenge, right? So I think that's how it is with this. There will be a vanishingly small number of people that would have bought it if they couldn't have pirated it, but I think that's a pretty small number. I mean, so my life cycle is this: I buy a console, right? I buy the games. One, I kind of want to have these things around years to come, right? So I like having the box, the manual and stuff, because I was one of those kids. I didn't always do that. Joe Santulli and I had this very nice discussion one time, standing there in the museum at CGE, and he was telling me how he was the kid that took out the manual, read it but didn't crease it, folded it back up, stuck it in the box, saved the box. And I told him straight up, I said, look, I was the person, I bought the game, rip, took the cartridge out, threw the box and the manual in the trash, and never thought twice about it, right? But I like having that stuff now. So the way I approach it now is, like, say, for example, my current consoles are the PS5, the Switch, and the Xbox. That there's no real games for sale for any of them, so I can't really do this. But going back 2.5 decades, I buy the console. Okay, I buy the games I want, and I play the games, and then eventually they come out with a SD card or something that lets you just play whatever, the pirate card. And then later, I get that device, I get the multi-cart, I load up the SD card with ROMs, and that's where I take the games I already went out and bought, and I get the ROM so I can have them all in one cart. And then I go out and download the games that I didn't buy because I didn't want to buy them because they weren't attractive enough or interested enough, but I want to have a peek and try them out, right? And it's been 8, 9, 10, 20, 30 years since the console came out. I'm not impeding on any sales, right? I mean, I think that's how a lot of people kind of approach it. I like to have the original stuff that I want. And then later on, once things off the market, open season.
Um, it's it's interesting. It's like there's definitely a price point where you would pay for things. And I think as some of these digital platforms become more prevalent, like, hey, if I could buy uh, old PlayStation 2 games that I missed out on, and it was like $1 or something, and the barrier entry was very low, I think that people would buy that rather than like, all right, I'm gonna download some ROMs and go through the hassle. Like they would capture some of it, so some of it's self.
Yeah, so no, that's the thing, okay? But that's the thing that will never happen. If I could go to, let's say I could go to Sony, right? And they had the buy PlayStation collection, right? And, or Nintendo, either one. Let's say Sony and Nintendo. And I could say, I could go to Nintendo.com and then under ROMs. And there was a thing called ROMs, okay? And they had cleaned, curated ROMs from their archives, which they don't do because those motherfuckers go to the websites and download their own ROMs and then put them on games. And they've been caught doing it over and over, okay? But what I would do is I would go to Nintendo.com, click on ROMs, click on NES collection. And let's say it's $1 a game, $1 a ROM. And they say, okay, you want the entire 400 game collection? Look, $400. Come on, we'll sell it to you for 200. You know what? For a archive, guaranteed ROM set, DRM free. It's just the ROM. No tricks, no extras, no additions, no conditions, no phone home. I would do that to get great clean ROM sets that are already organized. Sure. Or you could run down and click each individual one you want. Go to checkout. It's $1 a piece, right? Sure. And they would make so much money. But that's not what's being done. That's never what's going to be done. So
and it's interesting because it's like how many people would just repost it and then you could just get it for free. So
tons of people, of course, and it would be reposted the next day. But guess what's happening to the stuff that they hyper protect and all the money that they spent on that mini to lock that down? And what am I doing? I'm playing what I want to play anyway. So if you fight the people and prevent them from having what they want to play, they're just going to go around you. So, hey, why not make some money and sell it to the people that are willing to pay the money? So if I'm the guy that's going around your copyright scheme and, if you won't sell it to me, I'll just go get it. But I would have bought it from you if you weren't a dick about it.
I mean, when I was playing Xenophobe, same thing. Like, I was emulating it.
Xenophobe, yeah.
I was emulating it, but hey, if I could have downloaded it for $1 on my PlayStation 5, 100%. Even if it was $2 or $3, I would have just given the money to play it on my console, to have it there for the convenience, be able to use the controller without having to like get my ass off a couch and go to a different room and play it on a different setup and everything else. Like, I would have done it, but it's not available. It's not easy. And that's the problem. They got to make it easy.
Well, and for me, and I don't know how many of me there are, I want the ROM, and that's what I want. So that I can use on any emulator I want. I don't want your conditions, your helpfulness, your ideas. I just want the ROM. And that's, there's a way for them to make money from me. They just don't want to do it. So what I do want to do is read to you an email from David Gyrich. And it says Nintendo on the 2600. I thought, well, I wonder what they're talking about. And it says probably old news to most, but it goes to some licensing deals. I wish you would have talked about the 5200, 7800 versions. Yeah, me too. So what he does is he talks about Nintendo games, like, say, Donkey Kong, that were licensed. So we're mainly talking pre-NES games that were ported over and sold on the biggest console in the US. So I totally get it. Yeah. And he does about a 18-minute video running through stuff like Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers. and you know, Sky Skipper, Donkey Kong, and it's a good retrospective. It's a good read. You should check it out. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, that. And another interesting one here, again from David Gyrick, is the X68000 Mini, which the X68000 was a Japanese computer. And he says this PC was really ahead of its time, especially compared to Western PCs, and had an amazing gaming scene. Hopefully this will actually come out and people in the West can import it and see a piece of what Japanese consumers were playing. And this link, which will be in the show notes, of course, as will all the other links we mention. It's a post on Twitter, and it is a teaser picture, mock-up, call it what you will, of what appears to be an X68000 Mini with, you know, the tower, the keyboard, and the mouse.
It looks cool.
It does look really cool, yeah. And I agree with him.
See, that's the thing. I can get those ROMs. I can get those games, right?
Yeah.
All of that. There's an emulator. There's games, right? This is not original hardware. This is a mini, right? But, all right, so now it's styled like the original. It comes with a keyboard, mouse. It's got, you know, presumably modern HDMI output. And, you know, like $150 or something for something that pretty much emulates the experience of that computer and lets me play the stuff. And does, as long as it doesn't get in my way of installing the ROMs I want, take my money. You know, love it.
Yeah, it is possible to do, as you say. There's emulators. I've got it in set up on RetroPie, and a lot of the games obviously are Japanese. But if they brought out a mini, you know, maybe if it was released outside Japan, there'd be some translations. I know there are translations of some of the games, and some of them are in English. It's not all Japanese text, but interesting little teaser. Hopefully it'll make it into a real product.
Oh, that's the thing. All you got to do is just make what people want to buy and then not load it up with deal killers, you know. Got one here from David Gyrich and Peter Gibbs. Maybe somebody else. I thought I saw one. There are apparently some new codes that 30 years later were discovered for Super Punch-Out. And it says here, fan discovers secret in 28-year-old game. So a game cracker discovered a 2-player mode in Super Punch-Out for the Nintendo. Oh, for the Super Nintendo, sorry. And it says here, a modder doing some request work on the 28-year-old Super Nintendo game Super Punch-Out discovered some unknown cheat codes for the game, allowing players to manually select opponents and even allow a second player to control the AI. Dude, how long has it been? Super Punch-Out on the SNES. And they found this. That is so cool. Now, here's the difference, right? This is where Nintendo could do something really cool. And this is, I know there's a room full of lawyers that say, no, never happened, can't be done, right? Partner with this guy. Go, hey, look, man, you found that. That's pretty cool. We forgot about it. And put it out there, right? You're going to create some buzz, you know, you're going to make it interesting. And then, you know, let the guy, you know, write up the code, make a custom version of it, and then Nintendo sells it for $1 a piece, gives him, you know, 25 cents a piece or whatever, and then everybody wins. You know, I think that would be cool. Nintendo has to do no work other than have it put on their website.
Yeah. So there's one here that may interest Sparkle and possibly Scott more than me. New Fatal Fury from David Gyrick, and it's a link to a YouTube video. And David says, many people thought Garou Mark of the Wolves was one of the best 2D fighters made, so hopefully they don't blow it. And it is a sequel, apparently. After more than 20 years,
Yeah.
Fatal Fury Garou is coming back.
Mark of the Wolves is fantastic, and if you guys are into fighters and haven't played it, so good. No escape.
So is it a scroller or a single screen?
No, it's like Street Fighter 2 or something. I think it was a lot of the same guys that worked on the development of the original Capcom Street Fighter 2 when they left and went to SNK, and that's sort of their swan song, and it was, years after that sort of genre was popular and whatnot. But man, just the art style, the fighting, the controls, everything's just super tight. It's really a beautiful fighter.
Hey guys, that delivery I had is here. I gotta go sign for it. Be right back.
Okay. In the meantime, there is
Yeah.
one here from David Gyrick again. He says the remaster we're all waiting for. And this is erotic 90s arcade game Pippi and Bibbies is getting a remaster for the Switch. I don't know if they're going to censor it. I don't know if it says in this article, but I know there were naked breasts in the original game. Does it describe the game? Erotic action platformer. I have seen screenshots of it. Never played it, but it's coming to the Switch. Probably censored, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. Okay, got one here from Peter Gibbs again, and this is classic game publisher Sunsoft will try again. The publisher of Blaster Master, Batman, and others is reviving its retro back catalog. So, Fester's Quest, some of their others, outline its plan to release and revive classic games catalog, starting with Vampire Survivors, the game that I've been playing, inspired Icky Unite. And release a retro games gimmick and Euphoria on modern platforms. They're even hinting at bringing back Arrow the Acrobat. That was that one that you would have played, Mike, being a platformer guy?
Yes, I've played that, yeah. They did do some great games, Sunsoft.
Yeah, they had, Blaster Master.
Yeah.
At the time, that was just crazy. But yeah, it looks like they are going to be, and a lot of this is due to Vampire Survivors' success, viral success. I'm telling you, pick up Vampire Survivors and play it on Steam. It's just so good. But yeah, I'd be happy to see Sunsoft. A lot of their games are more like cult classics. Kind of one of the smaller publishers at the time, but they definitely had some quality games out there. So I'd be a buyer if they released a nice package, one of these collections or something. I did sell my Data East Wii collection that I had, and I was like alleged. Apparently, it wasn't very widely produced or something. I had pre-ordered that thing. It had just been collecting dust, so I sold it on eBay to somebody else that would have wanted it for their collection. But yeah, PlayStation 5 or modern console, if you put out a collection on disc or something, just so I have it. I usually pick up those Genesis collections and stuff. I mean, I got 18 different ways to play these games, but
yeah,
I do like to support those publishers and just like having it easy to pop in on a modern console. So
yeah,
Sunsoft, bring it to us.
Definitely. Something else that's coming to us, and I've still not watched the first or the second one yet, but there is going to be a third Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a December 2024 release, but they are making a third, so obviously the first two did well financially, and they were popular. I just haven't watched them yet. No, not yet.
Not bad. I mean, number one was okay. And of course, they had that whole fiasco with the legs or whatever. I don't know. I thought the first one was pretty good. The second one was surprisingly good. I mean, it was a good watch. I didn't know how they were going to approach it. I mean, you got it was kind of neat. Although, I mean, he made some pretty impossible things out of just mushrooms, but, it felt almost like more like Mario. I was almost like as if they were giving Mario just kind of a side eye. Like, yeah, we're taking on mushrooms, If you ever saw the original Super Mario Brothers movie where there's like mushrooms everywhere and all that.
Yeah.
It was kind of almost like that. I was like, man, are they just going like, hold my beer and watch this, But yeah, it's all right. Did anybody cover the Super Mario Brothers speed run?
No.
Okay. Show sent in by Peter Gibbs. He says, just another speed run. At least it's somewhat normal. Doesn't use weird glitches, cartridge swaps, etc. And involves skill. Not sure how I feel about using a keyboard, though. So the guy's playing Super Mario Brothers comes within a half second of a perfect run, which is 4 minutes and 55 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, I've never ever been able to sit there and watch, people play video games on YouTube. I know some dudes that literally can sit there for hours watching people play video games. Nah, I either play it or I don't. But it is something cool to see. Like at MagFest a couple of times, I've watched people do speed runs like live. And it's kind of cool to watch. So, it's not the kind of thing I'd watch on video. It's the kind of thing I'd see in person. But still pretty cool. I don't care. I mean, the guy's playing on emulation, keyboards. Who cares? He's having fun.
Yeah, yeah. And you're still got to learn to do it, whatever you're using to control it.
This one sent in from David Guyrich again, sending us lots of YouTube videos. This is a Virtua Cop documentary where this channel is reviewing every U.S. Saturn game, and this is episode 31 of 246. And it's Pandemonium Reviews. And man, this is a 4-hour documentary on Virtua Cop. I mean, they got like old school Japanese footage. I mean, they really dived. 4 hours on Virtua Cop. So if you're a fan of the Virtua and Sega Saturn and stuff like that, I mean, man, that's awesome that you can watch this stuff essentially for free. Maybe there's some ads sprinkled in here on YouTube, but that's a hell of a lot of content on Virtua.
Definitely. Did you, in my absence, do Random Dave's one about the Sony toppling Sega and Nintendo?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Random sent one asking, can Sony topple Sega and Nintendo? And it's an old BBC story, so it's a flashback article, and it's based on the launch of the PS1. Nintendo and Sega were at the time the two gaming powerhouses, and Sony were trying to break into that with the PS1, and it's a look back at whether Sony would succeed in the market that was dominated by those two companies. So, an interesting read for you. Another interesting read here, something I hadn't heard of, sent in by Peter Gibbs. I'm pretty sure Peter Gibbs is down under, and this article is based down under. It's called The Super Mario Koala, and it's an Australian artist who made quite a large sort of sculpture of a koala bear, but kind of Mario themed it. So he's, obviously got the mustache, the hat, the dungarees on, and this thing can be seen in Surfer's Paradise. So it's spent most of its time in Surfer's Paradise. I did not see it when I was there, but the author goes on to say, I'm still haunted by the Super Mario Koala 4 years after seeing it in the wild. So a humorous article that you can check out.
Got one here from Kerry Clanton. I don't think I've seen that name before. Do you guys?
Yes, we have. He's a big supporter of the show and a big backer on Smoke and Mirrors.
Oh, sweet. Okay, well, Kerry, maybe I have seen the name. I don't remember it, but always want to give a shout out to people sending in cool content. And he sent in one here, Doom on an 85 DeLorean. Okay. So I clicked on it here, and it has TRSI, the Red Serpent Invasion, an interactive competition C64 demo for the Evoke demo scene party. Looks damn impressive. Throughout the years, we've featured many different types of news stories, from gaming updates to music discs, even scene demos. Well, here with another eye-opening news story I think you all like, as if you have a Commodore 64, well, I do, you should really check out the latest release of the Red Serpent Invasion scene demo, an interactive competition entry for the Evoke demo scene party. that doesn't just run smoothly, it's really impressive. Features things like textured walls, scalable sprites. Some would say it's a very fine Wolfenstein clone 3D or an interactive demo. So let's have a look here. I always liked the demo scene in Europe, but nothing like it. Wow, yeah, it kind of looks like what you would expect to be possible. Wow, it's fluid. This thing does run fluid. So yeah, pretty cool thing there. Not sure what it has to do with DeLoreans, but
no, I couldn't get where the DeLorean reference came in, but I think it mention in the article Back to the Future, something like that. I forget. I read it when it came in. I'm pretty sure as well. Carrie Clanton is a truck driver, so I think he listens to the show on the road. One here that I think a few sent in. David Gyrick was one. I certainly saw it, but I'd already seen he sent it, so I didn't bother. It may have come in further down as well. And it's a reboot. Yes, another one on Alone in the Dark. And he says in his email, the series has had so many failed resurrections, but this time it seems to be going back to its roots, based on the very first game, which is truthfully the only one I really cared about. It's the only one I played, to be honest. Played it on PC, and also the Game Boy Color had a great version of it. So, yeah, they're going back to the roots on Alone in the Dark. So we'll have to await developments. Let's see if it says THQ are doing it by the look of it. Have they got a date? I can't see a date, just quickly scrolling down, but I'm sure we'll get an update as it releases.
Okay, here it is. Peter Gibbs. Top 10 console fails. Whoa, let's see what he has to say here. And it says, no, there's no Chameleon. So, all right.
Or Amico.
So,
it's actual consoles that came to production.
Let's bump this out to a top 12. So, the first one is the Action Max. Let's see here. Come on. The Atari Lynx. Failure. I don't know if you call it a failure. No, it didn't unseat Nintendo, even though it was a vastly superior product. So I can't say it was a failure, but no, it didn't become, rightfully, it should have become the market leader, but it didn't. Commodore 64 game system. Yeah, that's not a huge seller there. Sega Saturn. Yeah. Virtual Boy. Yeah, these are all cool. Every one of these I think is pretty cool, but yeah, failed. The Apple Pippin. Dude, who wouldn't want one today? Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, I mean, dude, that one just made me tear my hair out. I mean, the notion that you're going to have Sega launches a new console. It's got all these amazing features, and it just looks like it exudes awesomeness. And people are like, yeah, no, we're going to wait for the PS2. I know Sega's been doing this since the 70s, but, Nintendo, Sony, they just put out this PlayStation like 5 years ago. They're going to come up with another one. Screw Sega. So, yeah. C64 disk drive. Yeah, okay, but still pretty cool. PS Vita. Well, I think it was a successful film. I got one and never did a thing with it, but it's definitely beloved by the fans.
The one I liked about that, and still to this day, I think it's got, for a handheld, some of the best actual joysticks. And they're not nubs, they are actual joysticks. They're pretty good.
Which one are you referring to?
The Vita. PS Vita.
Like I said, I got one, and the reason I bought it was so that I could remote play my PS3. And unless you are on God's own internet with nothing in between the two of you, you ain't doing it. So it was sad. The Wii U, total bomb. How do you did the Wii and then you did the Wii U? That befuddles the mind. Let's see here. I know there's a couple.
The Wii U was tough.
And
I forgot.
The Wii was a tough act to follow, and also I think it was maybe sort of testing the water with the sort of hybrid, console handheld thing. Although you pretty much had to be in the same room as the console with the controller, I think it was maybe testing the water for that, for the Switch.
That was my first giant shoot down on the the Wii U. Is I didn't. There's a lot about I just didn't like, but I said to myself, all right, it's Nintendo, man. They made the Wii. Come on, they basically just relived the Wii era. The Wii era relived what it was like in the NES era, and they had the same level of success. Surely this will be the SNES of the Wii. It was not. The Ouya, and that's that. So, yeah, the Ouya, I would say the Ouya was another successful failure in that it's definitely not for me. It was not my thing. But it was a thing for a minute, and I don't know if there'll ever be like a cool niche collectible, but who knows?
Go look at the Ouya, no prototype. So this one came in, and it's from Gareth Hamer, and he asks, has Scott got his own interweb? Well, if you'd have been listening to the top 10 last night, you would have thought, yes, he's built it himself out of some egg boxes and some tin foil. But this guy built his own broadband to avoid expensive bills, and he got £2.1 million from the government for doing it, to let other people access his own broadband system that he built. So it's a nice little article that you can have a read.
I got one here from this Mike James fella talking about the new pinball movie world premiere, which I don't know the article says when it's coming out, but it is a look on, based on the historical evidence, testimony of Roger C. Sharp's testimony and how he saved the game of pinball in New York City.
I am so freaking stoked for this movie.
It's crept up on me. I knew nothing about it until I saw this news article.
Yeah, this is good. I like this because it's like, how many like pinball movies can you watch, or like people going for world records and things like that? I mean, this is historical. This is, much like when they had the Senate investigations on juvenile delinquency for comic books or prohibition or something like that. This is just a really cool part of the history of video games. This guy made, what else did he make? Piece of Cake, The Man Curve, Beauty Pill. He's been a writer on quite a few things. So
yeah, I found his website and I shot him an email and said, "Hey man, we'd love to talk to you," and I didn't hear nothing. But I'll still watch the man's movie.
Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to him and he'll answer.
Yeah, I mean, you're better looking. Who knows?
So it says here at the bottom, the 30th Anniversary Film Festival takes place October 7th to 16th of this year. So maybe they're launching it in October at a film festival and it will be available after that. It's in the Hamptons.
Yeah, I don't know if this is something I rush out to a theater to see, but I would certainly purchase a rental on Amazon or something like that.
I'd go to a funky theater to watch it.
Yeah, it would be cool to go to a theater that had like pinballs and shit, or like see a premiere at like a pinball arcade or something.
Yeah.
I would watch this any place, anywhere, anytime, pretty much. I would definitely, he's got to come out with like a Blu-ray or something. I literally would buy the Blu-ray, stick it up on my shelf, and then go download it from BitTorrent. I mean, I absolutely want to give this guy money and buy this thing. But for sure, I would watch it digitally, just on Plex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one here from David Gyrick again. although not popular in the West, these were important games in Japan at the time. A lot of Japanese-related stories tonight. It is the Jaja Maru collection. The Ninja Jaja Maru, I guess that's how you say it, series is heading to the West in 3 impressive collections. These are not something that I would be interested in. It uses that typical Japanese sort of battling system where you fire your weapons at them and then you sit and wait while they fire at you. It looks to be that kind of battle system game, but there's a few games across various platforms, obviously the Famicom, the NES, the Game Boy, and they are coming.
All right, got one here from George Lutz.
Yeah, Dirty George.
Dirty George. Dirty George here has got some things, some ideas. Black lights, disco balls, jukes box. These are all cool items to have in a home arcade. I could not agree more, George. I was looking for some things to enhance my own arcade on eBay. Thought a popcorn machine would be a nice addition. It actually is. Even if you don't really like popcorn, you can have a couple people over, you fire up the popcorn machine. It's a cool thing to have. My search for popcorn machines, sort of from high to low, led me to some interesting finds. Much like the famous Virgin Mother grilled cheese, there's a ton of phallic food objects on eBay. Phallic popcorn, $20,000, I guess. Popcorn shaped like a penis, $10,000. He has 10K, I'm guessing that means 10,000. Phallic popcorn shrimp, 7,000. White cheddar crunchy phallic shaped Cheeto, $6,000 your best offer. I guess these are things that are shaped like things, like like when they find
Dude,
the
popcorn shrimp definitely looks like a dick and balls.
Yeah.
All right. Flaming hot Cheetos rare penis shaped, $750. And his favorite, cashew nut shaped like a penis and balls, used, $8.54.
I might have to buy the cashew.
And put it in your
you better
arcade.
Beat George to the punch. George is going to be all over that.
I see a bidding war.
That is it.
Damn thing got it for $12.
I'm placing an offer on the
Before
cashew.
Mark backed out because we wouldn't pay for
it. Hey, this seller has 100% positive feedback.
Well, he delivers what he says he has.
Yeah. It's an interesting twist on the piece of toast with Jesus' image on it, isn't it? Wow. Let us know if you win the auction. Well, that seems like I think that's it, and it seems a good way to end on Dirty George's post again, as we often tend to do. I don't think it's an easy act to follow, George, is he?
I'm gonna make an offer on this cashew. He wants $8.54. I'm gonna offer $3. But how much is shipping on it?
$100.
Oh, free shipping. Yeah, I'm gonna offer $3 for this penis cashew. What should I put in my message to him?
This is not a joke. I actually want to buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it erect or flaccid?
This is not a joke. I'm a serious buyer, and this is a serious offer.
I just love food that's shaped like cock and balls. I'm also bidding on a Cheeto.
You should just simply say, this is not where I saw myself at this point in life, but this is where I am. Ship me the Cheeto.
How it started, how it's going. Oh, dearie me.
If I get it, I will We can do a giveaway of the penis-shaped cashew next month.
I think you've got to give it to George. George, we bought you a present for all the emails you've sent us that made us laugh and wonder what our lives have become. Oh, dear. All right, well, I think that is it for news stories. We had our most lengthy and in-depth Amico discussion to date, and it went downhill from there.
I'm willing to bet there'll be another when the next thing happens.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way. Look, you remember that zombie cockroach phase of the chameleon where, like, this can't continue, and yet it does?
Yeah.
I don't think this is dead yet. Because let's face it, the offices are closed. The systems are dismantled. Nobody's answering the emails. Nobody's going to give them money. This is over. No, it isn't.
Until...
No, it's not.
The gift that keeps on giving. All right, listeners. Well, I haven't been watching the chat, but there's a couple of people dropped in. Just in time for us to finish and say goodnight. We did start an hour earlier than usual, but like to, what's he say? Dogs lol says, vaporware, that term needs to make a comeback. We would like a few more people in live news next month. We will hopefully try and announce it a bit earlier than the day before. Or was it the day of? I can't remember. The day before, maybe. And hopefully get back to giving some stuff away. We'll have to have a think of how... Can you, publicize it on YouTube? Because, I mean, that's where we do it. I post it in the forums, but the forums are pretty dead. I put it in Discord and only a handful of people see it. Can you set it up on YouTube as a premiere?
Make a bumper for the beginning of the show. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, just to say join us for live news? There's one at the end of the show.
Yeah. I got a pair of Sandsbelt pants around here to give away.
AD will be distraught if you give them away.
Oh, dude, those things are never leaving my possession. Those are, all right, look, 80 should know, if he listens to the show, 80 should know that those Sandsbelt pants are in the same area and treated with the same reverence as my chameleon shirt.
So, little publicity for AD. You know, he's got a new album coming out, probably public release in September. He's also got a Patreon for the British IBM, and he's given some teasers of a music video he's done. So, over the lockdown, every Friday, he's been streaming like an acoustic gig on Twitch. And like we had an Ice Machine sidebar earlier, we somehow, during one of his gigs, got into a refuse truck in films sidebar. And so on his new album is a song called Refuse Trucks in Films. And he's making a music video for it. So it's just... how do you get down these rabbit holes? I don't know, but it's a great song, and especially if you like refuse trucks in films, which we all do. So... that's a teaser of what's to come on AD's new album and his Patreon. You should join his Patreon. And then you get to see all the behind-the-scenes shit. All right, it's time to go. Been here long enough, and it's getting quite warm in this room now, despite the 2 fans I've got running. So, thank you for those who joined us. Thank you for those who are listening later. And hopefully you'll join us next month on YouTube in the chat room for live news, where we might be giving away food items shaped like cock and balls. You never know your luck.
Or an entire truck filled with 80's latest releases. The truck will back up to your house, tip back the skip, and flood your yard.
You know what? I have a cool giveaway that we can add a bumper to the...
This is a teaser. You can record
You
your own
sound like you're
teaser.
loading up a magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is actually, this is really cool.
Be even cooler if you
If
were
it's
on
a
camera
Glock,
and
I'll
we could
register.
see it.
It is a set of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War whiskey stones that were only given to the developers of the game.
How did you get
So
your
if
hands on
you're-
them?
Friends with one of the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War developers.
So if you want to win that next month, you better join us in live news. We will tell you
Yeah.
how. You can check our forums for a notification. You can go in our Discord for a notification. Or maybe I'll figure out something on YouTube. You can set up like a premiere, can't you? Maybe I'll do that. I used to post it on Facebook, but I don't really go on there anymore, so yeah. Maybe I'll tweet it as well.
Long since deleted.
Yeah, maybe I'll tweet it. I do have access to the Twitter. Dogs.lol in chat says, can someone text me live news notifications? Yeah, put your mobile phone number in the chat there on YouTube. And
People text all kinds of things.
yeah, unsolicited cashew nut pics and all sorts. All right, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night to everybody.
Be kind to everyone.
Stay safe. Good night, everybody.